Hello? Hello? You may...
Hello.
Oh, hello!
There I am.
Yes, there you are. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just so everybody knows, this is, like I said, it's pretty free form. We're just going to kind of go through different parts of what it takes for Souls modding. I think some technical stuff is cool, but I think largely we'll not super dive into the technicalities of it, so that it's a little more approachable for somebody who's not familiar with coding and stuff and wants to jump in. Granted, what do you think, I guess, how difficult do you think it is to make these mods? Is it a lot of kind of trial and error figuring out stuff, or is a lot of that kind of plotted out now at this point?
So it really depends on what you want to do. Params, which I think is where we talked about starting today, is definitely the best place to start, and you can do a hell of a lot with just params. You know, you have millions of different game numbers and variables exposed, and literally exposed. Like, this is a file sitting at the top of the game installation directory. It's outside of most of the other compiled files because FROMSOFT, you know, they're obviously tuning it themselves all the time while they're developing the game, and they don't want to rebuild the game engine or repack all the other files every time they do that. So a params only mod is fairly straightforward. You know, there are other kinds of straightforward mods like replacements of models and textures and things, but those are some of the shallow categories, I'd say. Yeah.
So like with the unpacker, you pretty much get all those files in the folders, right? And then you just edit one of the param files. I mean, it's not a standard format, I think, right? You have to kind of open it in a proper editor.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the params are basically a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, you know, and all the fields are defined. The format's changed a little bit over the course of the games. And, you know, I think it was in Sekiro, maybe in Dark Souls 3, they started encrypting it as well. But the key to the encryption is just sitting in the binary in the game engine. That was one of the, I don't remember who found that. It was someone who posted it on the modding Discord. And, you know, that's all we needed to kind of port all of the, you know, what was previously at Sekiro level param editing over to Elden Ring, and that is very easy to use. It's a program called Yapt, developed by TKGP originally. There's a variant by Vorsa, who kind of ported it to Elden Ring and started defining all the new fields that Elden Ring has added and things like that.
Well, nice. That's awesome. So for this lesson today, should I go and download anything off Nexus Mods? Should I download Yapt?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think Yapt is definitely a I mean, it's going to kind of, you know, blow the doors wide open immediately on a lot of possibilities. You know, it's almost an overload of numbers that you're going to suddenly have access to, and there's a lot you can do with that.
Okay.
Really, aside from the params, you know, beyond that, you'd be looking at editing map files, so moving things around and you know, changing map events, and then the event scripting, which is where I mostly, you know, that's my little cave of excitedness that I like to do most of my stuff with. But yeah, so those are kind of the big three pillars. This is definitely one of them, though.
Nice. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm grabbing the latest release for Yapt.
Yep, that's perfect. You don't even need UXM to run this, I believe, because like I said, that file with all the parameters is just sitting in the surface of the game directory.
Nice. Come on, zip file. There we go. All right. Did you want to do any screen sharing for this, or maybe just when it's necessary, or I don't know how much you plan to do with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to screen share. Okay. You know, if we decide to do like an intro to the different kind of the structure of the game installation, you know, because I have kind of an unpacked vanilla version ready to go, and jumping around just pointing out, because you know, one thing you get used to pretty quick is just all the different fromified file names, and you know, one of them just means compression, one of them means a binder file, so just gluing other files together and things like that. And it looks pretty intimidating at first, but I think it's worth just diving into.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I have I think this is a vanilla install that I have. So, I mean, that's... very vanilla. So those data files that are, you know, many gigabytes big, all of the game assets pretty much and scripts just glued together, compressed and encrypted inside those. And that's what UXM unpacks for you. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But that file, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a file called regulation.bin. It's about 2 megabytes in this folder here, and that is where all the params live. They just renamed the file. It used to be called game param, but yeah, I think when they decided to move it outside of those big data binders, they gave it a kind of discrete name. Like I said, the encryption key, yeah, exactly. The encryption key is just sitting there ready to go. So,
well, all right.
Yeah. And that's the only file that Yapt will edit, I believe. And you can just point it to that. And,
interesting.
Yeah, you're off to the races already.
All right, let's see. I'm going to run Yapt here. Would you just talk a little bit about what exactly params are responsible for, what these numbers are? Because, I mean, it's for a lot of things in the game, yeah? Yeah,
exactly. And they've been adding more and more. I mean, FromSoft, it's almost every time a new FromSoft game comes out, we're almost shocked at the degree to which they reuse things and they reuse structures. So, rings in Dark Souls 1 and 2 became runes in Bloodborne, and now they're talismans, right? And you can probably sense that's kind of an obvious example, but all the underlying code for that is basically identical, right? They just, and they're really good at doing that. And so all those params still exist. They've existed since Demon Souls. Any pre-Demon Souls things going on are definitely outside of my scope, but
sure.
Yeah, they've basically added new params, so new spreadsheets in that left column there in Yapt. You can see the names of some of them. These are all the official internal names, and you can see they still call it bonfire param, even though it's the Sites of Grace now, and so on. So a lot of it is, fortunately, all this knowledge is accumulated every time a new game comes out, and we just have to wrap our head around some of the new things they're doing, and they just attach a bunch of new fields to the ends of these kinds of tables. And like holy, that's a new element. They had to add a new kind of slot for all the different holy buffs and debuffs that can happen in the param, so that you can just scroll down to the bottom, and they've just added that field in Elden Ring, for example.
Yeah Okay,
yeah,
nice. So let me so at this point I would open the regulation bin through Yapt. Is that right?
Yeah, it looks like it might already be done. I think it detected your game installation automatically if you've got it in the default position there, in the default install directory.
Well, yeah, it's not even there. It's on my desktop, but I guess it is looking for it. So is this one is, it said, well, at least on Nexus Mods, it said it's for Dark Souls 3, but can this work for any of the Soulsborne hero games?
Yes. So I'm not 100% sure if it works for all of them. I believe it does, because TK likes to just keep everything very unified and working for all the games at once. And like I said, they're basically the same file format. There's just a few extra layers. This is Rune Bear Edition, so very Elden Ring name.
I see. Okay.
And yeah, this is a branch of TK's code by Vorsa, who's another big modder, and he has started, or they have started the work for documenting all the new Elden Ring fields, basically. Because From very inconveniently stopped shipping a lot of the definition files for these tables around Dark Souls 3, or maybe in Bloodborne even, right? So, you have to kind of we had to start figuring more of the functions of these fields out ourselves. And a lot of them have descriptions in Japanese, which you can translate. They've been automatically, if you just hover over one of the field names in the right column here, you'll see a tooltip pop up, I believe, just for one of the automatically translated Japanese names for some of them. Yeah, so you can see
those lines are translated. Enter the ID created with a special effects parameter.
The descriptions sound a little, they sound a little like translated Japanese. And one of the big kind of just sit down and type a lot of keys in a row sort of tasks that modders have to do is just documenting all these properly. And a lot of them are just not used at all, particularly a lot of the older ones that are kind of left over from earlier games. And we have to just kind of figure that out by checking all the different rows and seeing if their value ever actually changes, for example.
Yeah. So what are these rows in the middle here? There is a ton of them.
Yeah, so those, if you imagine this as an Excel spreadsheet, in the left column we have the actual sheet, so there's tabs at the bottom of the page, so they're all doing very different things. Each sheet has a number of named columns, which are the fields on the right, and each row is one entry. You can have as many entries as you want, and they're all numbered. They have these IDs, and they're generally sorted by ID as well, and each of those IDs corresponds to one set of parameters for this param type.
Dang, so like maybe the row, does that correlate to like an ID for a particular NPC, and that's their param configuration?
Yeah, if in NPC param, that's 100% exactly what it does. This is the attack param for NPC. So each of these rows corresponds to a single attack by a single NPC. Not just enemies, but an NPC is anyone who doesn't use the player model. So a lot of AI controlled characters use the player model, which is model 0, and everyone else is called an NPC in From Software games. Now all these names are blank at the moment because again they didn't ship the names, unfortunately, but there's a built-in feature here. I believe if you go up to tools in the header here, let me just open my own.
Oh, is it field data? I think Fifth Matt was saying to import stock row names. Is that what we're trying?
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yeah. So, and a lot of these have already been named internally, particularly in the most useful categories like weapons and NPCs and everything. So already, that's kind of a necessary first step to really get started here, or you'll be just digging around for days, figuring out what ID is what. Yeah.
Awesome. So I see all these giant crabs here, for example. So each one of these is some sort of attack or ability or something that the crab might have, and then how the numbers on the right will define exactly what that means.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you just widen the window a little bit, you can see the values for those fields in the right column.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and they've the stock row names at the moment in Yapt have the name of the NPC or the model that's using these attacks, but yeah, not the actual attack names are a little more take a little more manual effort to specify. But yeah, that's all the information for a single attack on the right there. So a few terms that we're going to see a lot are worth mentioning are dummy poly. You can see a lot particularly here.
Yeah.
A dummy poly is just a 3D point defined in the model. And so, in this case, that's determining where the hitbox appears during the attack. Right? Okay. So you'll see, dummy poly. It took surprisingly long to figure out what that meant because it's kind of a direct Japanese translation.
Right.
And you can see it's spelled in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, it's just a point. It's a dummy point. It has no actual automatic function. It's just referenced by other things like these attack params to, say, generate hitboxes or spawn visual effects at a certain position on the enemy model and so on. So in this, you can see all the different slots for hitboxes that attack can generate. And most of the time, it's only going to use 1 or 2. So you'll only see...
Yep, I see those here. There's dummy poly 1 and then hit 4. And so this is actually kind of... Is it like a relative point on it? Or is it just an assigned, like, hitbox area? Like...
It is relative, yeah. So it will move with animations, for example, right? So most of the time, like for a humanoid enemy with a sword, you're going to have a dummy poly defined on the tip of the sword and maybe at the base of the sword.
Okay.
And those are going to kind of be, the game will generate generally spheres or capsules, around these dummy polys, 3D shapes that are relatively efficient to check for collisions, and then it's checking if that hits your player collision and so on to determine attack damage.
Gotcha. Well,
and you can see here as well, see how it starts at hit 4, where you've got highlighted there?
Yeah,
because hit 0 to 3 is at the top, and they've decided for this game, or it was probably in one of the previous games, we need a lot more hitbox slots, actually, so let's just add a bunch at the bottom of this table. And originally they only used up to 4
at the
in
very
Dark
top,
Souls, for example. Yeah.
Interesting.
So they do not resort these because they're they're under time pressure and they risk a lot by inserting new fields in the middle of others in terms of how the data is laid out and things, because then they couldn't copy paste old data into new data, which we know they do a lot as well, and so on.
Nice. Okay, well, there's a lot of numbers here and rows, and I could see how this could be something very overwhelming if somebody looks at it for the first time. So could we maybe do like a simple experiment, for example, like maybe like making one of the most basic enemies now do lightning damage or something like that?
Yeah, we could certainly do that. It might be a little tricky to identify the attacks that we want to modify based on the names here.
Or we could say like add lightning to all of their attacks. Like just to make it so that now it's a lightning NPC or something like that. Yeah. Oh, and Melinda's near the top there. Oh boy. Yeah,
that's the order that you see the names defined here. They're just ordered by the model ID, which is the first 4 digits in this case. So Morgott, you can see is 2130, and so on. And they're just in the order they were developed. They're not generally in any sensible order.
Melina, Radagon, okay, all right.
Yeah, and you can see the ones marked bullet. I think that's just Yapt kind of automatically noting that these are attacks that don't generate, or they generate bullets, which are projectiles. In addition, not just hitboxes checking for collision. So,
Right.
You can do other things
Okay,
as
and
well.
then at the top here, is this a filter? Let's see.
Yeah, I believe that just searches names. So if you type it in, I think you have to actually click apply. I don't think the enter key works.
I may have.
And it might take a while.
Yeah,
there's a lot
of things in there. Okay,
yeah,
so
attack param is one of the biggest kind of categories here, along with behaviors, because you got X models times X attacks, Y attacks.
Okay, so I searched for Godric because I was looking for Soldier of Godric, but he's probably not listed as Soldier of Godric in here, I guess, if it doesn't show up, huh? Do you have any idea specifically Soldier of Godric, or maybe I search Soldier first?
That's a good question. Yeah, let me check that out. I would have expected it to just be Soldier of Godric. Import there. I love that we're starting with Soldier of Godric.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I want to give Soldier of Godric all lightning attacks, and just, I don't know.
Yeah. We can do a lot more than that to help him out. Okay, I'm just searching it myself. Just, sometimes these have minor typos in them, but no, I can't find that. If we go down and look at NPC param, we can try to find just the ID of the Soldier of Godric. My guess actually is that, and I'm sure if there are other modders in chat, they might be shouting this as well, but Soldier of Godric is probably just a castle soldier model.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, maybe.
Yeah, but it's going to have its own NPC param.
Okay.
So if we look in there, and in fact, if we search it here, it might have named it for us already.
Godric Soldier Boss, Stranded Graveyard. Yeah.
That sounds very promising.
I found him.
Yeah. So this is an NPC param. While we're here, it's you can quickly note a lot of the obvious things you'd expect now appearing over on the right. So we have things like special effects, which are kind of general. Usually they're buffs and debuffs. They're just there to temporarily modify numbers or modify it just for specific characters and things like that. So special effects 0 there, 5402. That might be boosting the poise of this enemy, for example, or something like that. And that's special effects are another just giant category of param where you can do a lot of stuff and you tend to mess around with a lot. But we have health defined in here, the base HP. It says base HP because it's going to be multiplied by any special effects that are layered on, as well as any new game plus effects. And other things like that. And then, we have resistances, we have guard absorptions, so everything that makes the Soldier of Godric, basically, is going to be in this table.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm just taking a little gander through all these.
Yeah, and it's very tempting, yeah.
And I'm sure they make some really specific parameters, right? For, like, special cases that are just always, like, 0 on somebody else, like... I feel like that's kind of, game development. It happens.
Yeah, special effects are very guilty of that. You have, it must be like 200 different fields at this point, but each effect is probably using 2 or 3 of them max.
Yeah.
It's very, very generalized, and, they just keep piling on more and more abilities to change change values as they add new games.
It's cool to look through these, like foot IK, error on or off gain. It's like to kind of play with how much the foot IK is like when they automatically find the ground and they attach the foot, Sometimes when you see them at the bonfire and their foot's going crazy, that's kind of the IK system, I think. So I wonder, see, it's just interesting to me, the idea of playing with that, like just setting the number massively and then seeing what happens with him and see if his foot goes to the ceiling or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't even know. But yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds like that's basically a super irregulator. TK's irregulator mod, which just randomizes as many of these values as he has deemed remotely sensible.
Right.
But
yeah. Exactly.
I'm not sure foot IK error made it into the list, but it really should. It really should.
You never know. Okay, so we found him here in NPC or param. And here we've got his ID. So in order to modify his attacks, I mean, we've got a lot of defense stuff here, but his attack stuff would actually be in the attack param, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to have difficulty there because I would guess that the attacks are only defined once for the model, right? So we can change them certainly, but it's going to be affecting every Godric soldier, not just the boss one. Would be my guess.
So even if we grab this ID, we won't be able to like go over there and there's only that ID that we can modify, or...
That's right, yeah. We'll see a lot of attack params starting with 4311, which is the Godric soldier model, but there won't be a variant just for the 3906 suffix that we see here for the boss. Yeah.
Okay, so specifically this guy, they just put him there as a regular enemy, but gave him a different name and made him a boss fight.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've bossified him using special effects, is my guess. So in this very param that we're looking at right now, we probably have some extra special effects that are just pumping up his health relative to a normal Godric soldier, because they often don't even like to change the base HP. You know, if we compare him to some of the other entries, because they like to kind of constrain all of the variations, as many variations as possible to special effects, so you can kind of reuse them for different cases. Like each area in the game will have a special effect that kind of levels enemies in that area. So if they decide to move the serpents from like Volcano Manor to somewhere else, they don't have to go and adjust every individual parameter in the serpent's attacks or NPC param. They just have to change the leveling, the quote leveling special effect from the Volcano Manor one to whatever area they move them to. Interesting.
That's very cool.
That leveling system is actually how we figured out the quote intended order of the late game areas in some of these, because you can actually see what levels they've been given internally. Yeah,
that's very cool. So is there some sort of document or a place where if you're wanting to figure out what exactly a particular parameter does, is there some sort of database you guys have with that information? Or I guess maybe just mousing over and looking at the text and kind of playing with it to try and see what it does?
Yeah, it really does come down to that. So, I have my own kind of Python software called Soulstruct, which I've done tutorials for as well. It only supports Dark Souls and Bloodborne params at the moment, which are the two games, I've done mods for up until this point. And I've tried to write more detailed documentation that, goes kind of beyond, and I've tried to identify which ones are unused in that, but that is quite far behind what we're looking at right now in terms of all the new fields they've added in Elden Ring and in Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 as well. So it does really come down to just having the best doc strings possible with these. And I imagine as we go on and, more and more people get into this and are willing to contribute to the Elden Ring modding scene, getting better descriptions from these, kind of default translated Japanese ones and figuring out what they do based on the kinds of, sometimes they have quite vague names and things like that. That would be an incredible sort of, and I think very inevitable advance in the Elden Ring modding scene.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So specifically, let's pretend like we're just gonna modify the Godric soldier in general. So 4311 is what we're looking for. Let's see.
Well, we could actually, there are other ways to mod the soldier. We could create or find a special effect that does add lightning damage to all attacks. And we can just put that on we can put that on the soldier of Godric boss, and I think we'd be good to go.
Okay, so how would we find that then?
That's an excellent question. So if you scroll down to the SP effect param, so special effect. The term special effect is a little abused. In here, you'll see SFX and SE, which are sound effects, and special effects, which are not, they're completely different.
Exactly.
So, but yes, we call them speffects or just effects, just to try to catch them all here. But you can see some of them have been labeled already by Vorsa, and not all of them are going to be. But we could try searching for lightning.
All right, let's try that.
We might find something.
Yeah. Lightning.
If not, we can easily create our own. So it would be even if it happens to duplicate one that already exists.
There's a torrent special effect. Can we just apply that to Soldier of God? I mean, I'm sure we could, but I don't know that it would do what we're expecting it to do.
That would be very, very exciting.
Okay, so it looks like we've got some spells here. We've got Tear, we've got Charm Effect, and we've got Lightning Grease. Could we just apply Grease to him?
Yeah, we could. And while we're here, you can see that the Lightning Grease, one of the first fields that it uses is duration. Which you can see that's how long the Lightning Grease lasts. Now, if we apply this effect to an NPC param, it will automatically be permanent. I'm 95% sure. So we don't have to actually change that duration.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. It's the same thing if we attached it to armor or weapons. You can do the same thing there. A lot of weapons have special effects attached, which is how they deal bleed damage and things.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So, really briefly, if you want to change an effect or have an effect, is it possible to create a new effect, or do you have to pretty much exist modifying effects?
So, because there are so many fields, typically you'll start by copying one, and we try to kind of, when we're doing something quite big like Nightfall, and we have a lot of scripts that are automatically generating these based on other information that we provide about the mod, kind of in our own format. And in that case, we like to find or we create this quote default param, and you'll often see that as param 0 or 1 in a lot of these as well. You can tell that FromSoft does the same thing. So we start off by duplicating that. We find a new ID we want to assign to it, and those IDs can get very large. I think you can see IDs that are up to 10 digits in Elden Ring for some of these. But there's obviously a lot of unused territory in there. And then, we just change the fields that we want for that particular effect, and we can give it a name. These names are saved inside the regulation file, so, they'll live on. FromSoft just strips them out before they ship to the game.
Okay, so you can actually just create your own new fields. I was wondering if, wasn't sure if you were like limited to what exists in there already, and you have to use ones that just aren't used or whatever. But man, adding your own, that's a lot of power, so that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So we can add new rows. Not new fields, but that's exactly what we want to do.
Gotcha. Okay, so if we're gonna slap this onto our Soldier of Godric boss, do we take note of the ID number here in the row?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so 3165.
And you can click into that and Control C it just to be safe as well.
Yep. So now we'll go back to the, where was it? NPC param, right? There's our boss. And now in any of the special effect IDs that are -1, say?
Exactly,
we replace that?
I think 0 and -1 are the same thing. I can see that, 16 started as 0 there.
Yeah,
so just pop it in there. With these slots, you'll often find the reason it's kind of jumping over intermediate numbers is that they'll have kind of a protocol for which ID slots to use for which types of effects, right? So that, special effect ID 21, which is 5800 for this enemy, is probably, effect 21 for other enemies is probably going to be in the same family of effects. It might even just be, or -1.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's worth keeping note of that. But yeah, I hadn't realized how many extra ID slots they've added since Dark Souls. They're up to 32, it looks like now, 0 to 31.
Yeah.
I think we're still working with 6 per enemy in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, that's
but there are all kinds of tricks you can do with that. You can have effects chain into other effects, so you can have event scripts check for an effect and then just apply 20 others, when it finds that. So you can always find a way.
That's cool. So if we wanted to make like a, if we wanted to make Lightning Grease way stronger, but we didn't want to change it across the game so that the player could get Lightning Grease and suddenly be really strong with it, we would need to create a new row in the effect. Okay, all right, cool. So,
and in that case, our use case would probably be so specific, we just name it something like Soldier of Godric Lightning Buff or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is that something that's too complicated to try right now, or do you think?
No, we can definitely do that.
Okay, yeah, all right. So let's do that. So, would we copy, like basically make a duplicate of Lightning Grease first?
So I'm trying to remember the hotkey. I think if we just highlight the field, let me have a look here. So I think you have to use a hotkey for it.
Hotkeys. Is that?
It's going to be Control-Shift-N. It's in the edit menu up top. So when you've selected a row, there's a duplicate row function.
Oh, I see. I was thinking you were looking at like a database of hotkeys. I was like, how many hotkeys are there? Okay, so Control-Shift-N and we'll duplicate this. Boom. Yeah. And now we need to give it an ID. So is there an easy way to just like set it to the max, or do we have to keep track of that ourselves?
We have to keep track of that, unfortunately. And that's one of the areas, and the bigger your mod grows, you're going to want a whole separate document documenting all the IDs that you've used in all these different file formats and params and things. Okay. Yeah, so we'll usually, if you're just starting off on a mod, find a nice big range of IDs that hasn't been used at all. They can even be very few digits. I think I use effects in the 40,000 range for the survival mod. And just say, all right, that's my mod's range. Any effects that are 5 digits starting with a 4, I'm just going to go through those one at a time, and they're going to be my effects. Yep.
That makes sense, because you're probably not going to go be putting tens of thousands of effects such that you run into other ones.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
even they don't do that. They just have their templates for large IDs for certain things.
Okay, so I definitely can use 69, 69, 6. So why don't we? I'm going to assign that to our new lightning. I need to re-filter this. Where did it go? Come on.
Yeah, and when you duplicate as well, you can see that box that pops up lets you choose if you want to duplicate multiples at a time, and even you can specify a step size if you have some other thing in mind. Because a lot of params you do want to step them up by more than one. Item lots, for example, because when you get an item lot awarded to you in the game, it will automatically give you the next 9 of them. I think it is.
Did you say an item lot?
Item lots, as in lottery. That's how the game. That's how you get items and how they deal with the dice roll for which item you'll get in an enemy drop, for example. We can look at that later as well. It's another very, very powerful and pretty necessary param for a lot of mods.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so let's see. I've assigned the ID. I don't think we need to repeat this, and we'll call it Soldier. If I can type, Soldier of Godric Lightning Buff. And then step value, if you're creating multiple, that's how much it would just increase the ID by. Is that right?
That's right. I think 0 kind of defaults to 1.
Okay, okay. So if I did like, say, 5, then it would create, it would duplicate this 5 times and give it 69696 and then 69697, etc. up through, all 5 times. And keep adding.
If the repeat count was 5, then the step value was 1. Yeah, that's exactly what you get.
Okay, cool. All right. Create. Boom. Crash. Uh-oh. This is okay though. This is good to work through because what if this happens?
Yeah,
let's see.
Exactly. So based on what I'm reading here, I'm guessing this is related to the filtering that we've done.
Oh, really?
So yeah, just the way I think this is like a Windows form application.
Interesting.
So we can probably get around that if we restart and not. Or reset our lightning filter up the top there before we.
Oh, I see. It's crashing out of it. So it's closing out. Remove the filter before duplicating. Okay. I thought I was making our lives easier by doing that, but I suppose not.
You never know what's gonna happen.
All right, let's see. Let's go back to special effect param. So I'll find it. Wait, should I not filter? No, I should just. It's okay to filter, just not have it filtered when I duplicate. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. As far as I'm aware. Yeah. I've only just started using this program for Elden Ring because I kind of had my own solutions before now.
Gotcha. Is there a way to submit a bug report if something happens? Is that just on the GitHub itself that I would do that? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm sure you could do it on the GitHub. Okay. Or just you could probably tag. I think Voss is in the modding Discord.
Okay.
You could
Vosser.
You could at him there. Yeah.
I think also, if for you guys in the chat, ! modding, I think is a link to the mod Discord, the modder Discord, the general one for all things Soulsborne modding. So if you're interested in doing that, modding, boom. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it ? server name ?
Yes.
And you've graduated modding class when you understand why.
Okay, so let's filter our lightning here. How is Nightfall going, by the way?
It is going very well. Yeah, we're expanding our tools at the moment. I just created a system where, this won't be a long story, don't worry. But we're doing a lot of lighting editing, and we've got Stade helping us out with that, which is a legend for. But one of the problems is, and we're going to run into this shortly, some file formats, when you mod them, you have to restart the entire game to see that change. Which is very annoying.
Yeah.
And we have some kind of hacky solutions that actually edit the game memory to try to enable a sort of hot reload for a lot of these parameters.
Ooh.
With the lighting, it's not that bad. You just have to save and quit and reload back in to see the lighting change.
Right.
But I created a tool that lets you kind of edit them in real time just by finding where in memory some value is, like the redness of the wall or something like that, and you can change that. But some of them you can't change directly because they're only read once when the game loads, and then they're kind of baked into the materials for all the meshes.
Sure.
And so we went through this whole process of trying to figure out, all right, how can we find that internal function and call it to refresh everything? Because the debug version of the old Prepare to Die edition had this, but not the remastered version.
All right.
Gave up on that. Really not my strong suite, and even a legend like Metal Crow wasn't able to find out how to kind of hack into this loop that the game does when you load a map. So I created a hotkey that just warps you to the spot you're already standing on to just kind of instantly reload the game, just kind of like a refresh for the game. So at least we only have to see one loading screen. So that's like 3 days of Nightfall work, just making this pipeline more efficient. But it's going to pay off because we are very much looking forward to just editing the overall look of the game, and the lighting's a huge part of that.
Well, heck. I know we're all excited for it, and yeah, I hope it's been a lot of fun. How many people are working on Nightfall actually?
So, I don't want to miss anyone out. I feel bad if I miscounted, but it's at least a dozen. I'd say there's a core team of about 6 or 7, who, you know, they're each kind of taking on one whole aspect of modding. So you could kind of sort us by file formats. I'm kind of the event script and map sort of person. We got iTunes on music, Meow on all these animations and assembly edits, Dane Brennan, who's doing all these new models, and we're all kind of contributing to some of the writing and the dialogue, and Zully's kind of overseeing all that. So I think that would be the core team. And then we have some people like George, who's made a lot of mods, who's, when we started to get into the demo, he really stepped up and did a lot of play testing and editing of all the stuff, because, you know, we were scrambling to get everything ready in time for that release. And yeah, we bring in other people as needed to do various things. So we have people helping with the music, and yeah, the full credits for that you can find on my website or on the Nightfall page.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, great team.
Very cool.
We're very lucky.
Nice.
We're going to announce a release date for that once we are officially into kind of play testing only with or if we get up to a point where we're just writing item descriptions and things like that. Hopefully not too far away.
Very cool. So we've got our buff here now. It is duplicated. It's ID 69696, and it says Soldier of Godric Lightning buff. So let me pull out the numbers here, and I feel like this will be pretty straightforward. Hopefully, let's see. That looks like kind of poise, damage multipliers. No. Okay, so we've got holy, correction. Is correction scaling?
Correction is like an additive factor. So you have power percent, and you can see that's normally set to 1.
Yep.
And then we have damage plus. Oh, I see. Yeah, correction. From what I can tell here, it's changing the scaling you get from stats. So yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. There's also scaling in the sense of just like a flat multiplier, which you can do here.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's a lot of these. Okay, well, but I can also search lightning here, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Filter. There we go. Attack percent lightning. Now, I feel like if it doesn't deal lightning damage already, isn't that going to be, you know,
yeah, I think that
multiplier?
If you just reset that filter, I did see a value that was set to 85. I think that's what we want. I'm wondering why it hasn't appeared here.
Oh, yeah, damage plus light. Oh, it's called lightning.
Let's see. Probably literally the only typo in this entire param, and it was the one field we needed.
Yep. Well, you know, that's, again, this is all good for illustrating just, you know, what can go wrong or what you might need to figure out. I'm going to give him 200 lightning damage. Now, that
sounds appropriate.
Yeah. This is like 1-for-1 damage that you would receive in the game, right? But before defenses and all that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So the game's calculating, you know, that attack param, the hitbox makes contact with you, and then the game's calculating a number, and then it's going to test that number against your defenses and everything.
Very cool.
So you can add to that number here. And the defense stuff, you know, that's for incoming damage for the Soldier of Godric, so we can pump up those defenses. The power percentage, so that's, you know, the multiplier that's going to be applied to the damage before the addition. I don't remember off the top of my head the difference between attack percentage and power percentage.
Interesting.
Someone else might be able to point that out. But I know, you know, I think it's just a different stage in the calculation.
Oh, wait, let's see. Multiply the fire attack power by the set value. Flame damage ratio. Correct the calculated damage by number of times. Wait.
I would guess
so this is just adding the number straight, and then this is like a multiplier for the attack? Maybe?
Yeah, I think the power percentage will be applied kind of earlier in the calculation, because then, you know, your power is used to determine an attack damage, and then the attack percentage is applied on top of that, because the power might be reduced by other things.
Okay.
That's my guess, yeah, but I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, but you
could get very similar effects, but yeah, you just have to kind of...
So if you were going to say, I guess you could more generally use this effect for other sorts of things you would want to apply to Soldier of Godric, right? Like, so would you suggest, like, if I was doing this, that I would make this just lightning buff, do the lightning, and then make an entire another effect if I wanted to do other things, like buff his defense or things like that? Or should I just do that all in one effect?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's really kind of a very high-level design question. I think it depends on whether the lightning buff is kind of the general thing and you plan on applying this to other NPCs, Or if, like you say, this could be the Soldier of Godric mod buff. And for a mod, you know, that's not the way FromSoft would typically do it. You know, they try to keep things a bit more general. But, you know, if you have some special effects that's only meant to be applied to one enemy, you do end up in a situation where it may as well be named after them. And in that case, you may as well do whatever else you want to change the Soldier of Godric.
Yeah, I feel like that's
I would recommend that.
The lazy way. I would be like, all right, Soldier of Godric. All right, changes defenses, changes this and that. But then I guess it's kind of hard to tell, you know, what you've changed already without referencing the original and all this stuff. So I could see that
exactly.
being harder to
It does
track.
mean you need less. You need to use up less of the special effects slots in the NPC param doing it this way as well. And it makes sense for a mod because you can just name these like modded Soldier of Godric mod or something like that. Soldier of Godric level up. So yeah, whatever else you want to bestow upon him. While you're here, by the way, you may as well change the duration because that's no longer relevant. I know it won't actually matter.
Gotcha.
Way we're attaching it.
So let's see, effect duration %. Is that what we're looking for here?
Right at the top. I think it's the third field.
Duration 60. That's right. So is there a way if I set like 0, is that infinite? Or is that just literally 0?
-1 is infinite. -1 is infinite. The effect will never be removed unless if the arm is taken off, for example, or if an event script removes it. A duration of 0 means it lasts for exactly 1 frame, and that is used all the time. That's how you get souls out of consumables. That's how consumable effects generally work. You know, the item will trigger a special effect that lasts for 1 frame, and it modifies your rune count by some number.
So if I could figure out a real-time memory hack and adjust that value, then I could basically give myself infinite souls.
Yeah, well, you can just modify it right here. We can look up that special effects.
No, I'm talking about no mods. This is for
oh, you're talking about some sneaky
speedrun strats, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's say that's what we want to do. We add 200 lightning damage, infinite duration, even though it's already going to be infinite because NPC. But ignoring all that, how do we get this into the game? How do we test this?
Have we attached this effect? We did, right? 69696.
Oh no, we haven't done that part yet. We've created the effect, but it's not attached to our Soldier of Godric yet. So NPC param. Oh wait, maybe we did actually.
I think we definitely chose a slot.
It crashed, so I don't know.
That's true. That's true. We probably lost it.
Soldier.
George, is that true? Does FromSoft actually use Microsoft Excel? It sounds like a meme.
Not modding params in Microsoft Excel like FromSoft does. SMH. I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's easier to do that. Here we go. Godric Soldier boss stranded graveyard. Yeah, I don't think. Wait. Was it in the second group of special effects? No, I remember we were at the ID like 32. We could see like that max, right? Here's 15. Here we go. 31. I don't see it here, so we'll place it in. If we accidentally did it twice, would we even notice it?
It depends on the effect. So some effects, there's a field in the effect param that determines their stacking behavior. So whether they can stack or whether only one can be applied and so on.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think by default, this one will not stack. So it would just replace itself.
Okay. So I know you said that they'll generally use special effects slots for like the similar types of effects. But without knowing that, I just threw it on the 17. And
sounds good to me. I have no idea what the system is that FromSoft used for Elden Ring special effects. So 17, it's a prime number. I like it.
I like it too. Okay, so file save?
Control S, that's it. Yep. And
then it's params saved to regulation.bin. Okay, so it's all set now, and we just go test it.
You are good to go. You're ready to launch the game. Let's make sure your anti-cheat is disabled if you're using.
No. Yeah. So what kinds of things are they testing for? Any sort of file differences for?
I imagine they would definitely be able to detect like a simple checksum on the regulation.bin. So. I don't think that would go well. I think you saved it though.
I think I saved it. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Start game in offline mode. Wait, there's a.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah. So that .bak file, which I just saw there, that's going to be the automatic backup from Yapt.
Nice. Great.
All of our tools use that file extension pretty much to preserve whatever was there. It might not be vanilla. No guarantee it's vanilla.
Right. Whatever it was before when you made a change. Yeah. Failed to save game. Save data is corrupt. Uh-oh.
That's not good.
That could have been happening before.
Yeah, I had this occur when I had a version conflict. Maybe someone in chat has seen this before as well. You can test it out if you just rename the new .bin to like .bin.mod or something and see if the BAK one works. That could tell us.
Let's see if we did that with our current change right now, or if it was already borked. Let's find out. Sometimes launching in vanilla is enough, says Fifth Matt, and that'll fix it, or and then we reload them with the mod files in there, or well, we'll see. I guess. Let's see.
I think I only solved this by doing a Steam file validation.
Okay, so let's see. It's working now, so I'll quit out. What is the recommended step you take at this point? We've got it loading, but without the mod file.
We can just try it again. Yeah, I haven't run into this problem again.
Okay.
Matt, suggesting that just launching once in vanilla might cure our woes. If not, we could do something radical like run at UXM, because I don't know, that might.
All right, let's see. Swapped them back now. Whoops.
Matt says that our files are a vastly different size, which was an issue in DS3, but I think it's fine now. Definitely hasn't been an issue for me since the initial time this happened. When I started modding, this did happen.
Interesting.
It's because of importing names. Oh, that's the size difference. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Huh.
Yeah, it's definitely been working for me, and I've been shipping out modded ones of this for the survival mod, and it's been fine. So very strange.
Okay. Yeah. Now it's good. Cool. I think it just had to do something with like launching it here since the 1.05 update, and I hadn't before, I think. So
yeah, it's doing some file validation for the first time you run on a new update, something like that. That would explain what happened to me as well.
All right, so I'm going to create a new character and really quickly run and just test that our Godric Godric soldier.
By the way, just for this testing, one thing you can easily do in params is make whatever sites of grace warpable immediately that you want. It's a one field change, because that warping information is all contained in there.
Interesting. Okay, I think I'll just run there for now. But you can definitely change that for another
Soldier
test.
of Godric is a convenient test location. But
yeah, it's very quick.
If you're modding, an end game boss.
Millennia,
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, let me spend 2 hours getting to Millennia now. So.
Yeah, because sometimes, you're not sure what event flags you've accidentally enabled for some character, so you want to start a new save file to just really start from scratch. But the instant warping really helps there. You just have to make sure you don't warp directly into the boss arena, and then she won't even move. Though I think some people would be okay with that rematch.
An issue with Soldier of Godric is you get soft locked there when you can't beat him. Is that true?
Oh, because he can't escape the stranded graveyard without beating him? That's funny.
I guess if you don't touch any other... Yeah, if you don't touch any other graces, you're just down there. All right,
that's the kind of soft lock that modders really have to watch out for. I mean, you never know where someone could get stuck, and you always want to leave a way out.
We should have done this because it would be very simple, I think. But is there just a string in the Soldier of Godric param for his name when he appears as a boss?
It's not in the name, but it is in a... well, I say very accessible. We'd have to do UXM to unpack that text information.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So those are some of the... Yeah, it's not as simple as just editing the name in the param.
No, that's a text ID, so that's kind of a whole, there's a list of IDs that correspond to text for all the different text formats, like names and weapon names and event text, which is kind of the catch-all, the messages that pop up. And a lot of params do indicate which text ID they want to use, but the boss name, that ID is specified in the event script, which we're not. That's dark magic for us right now.
That is dark magic, but I like it. It's exciting.
Oh, I like it as well. People have been asking me for detailed event tutorials for a while. I feel bad I haven't gotten to it yet, but it's something I really want to do right, and there's obviously a lot going on right now.
Definitely.
But if we could graduate to that, that would be very fun to do on stream, because you can really...
even just a mod, just changing the names of things. Like, it's just funny to go in and you don't expect it, and it's a different name. All right, Let's see. Here we go. Soldier of Godric. Does he have... So... Should he have the effect of the lightning grease?
I'm not sure he would, because that effect is kind of built for the player model. Someone might be able to tell us that.
It's hard to tell. You know what? I should have made it basically an insta-kill. He's doing...
Then we definitely know.
I feel like it's more
to tell.
Yeah, I should have done more than 200.
I don't think it's lightning just because your character isn't getting the lightning effect on them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we might have to look a little deeper here.
All right, let's jump out here. Could it be possibly our saving? I don't think so, because we had that file issue with the regulation bin. Let me see here.
No, it should be.
Yeah, regulation bin. I don't think
I think we got the right file going. We could, yeah. Let's test another special effect field that will make it very obvious. Like his health, for example. We could give him a ton of health.
Sure. I'm gonna be lazy and just modify the the one we made. And
perfect. That's not as lazy as modifying the NPC param directly, which would be the very lazy way.
Oh, right. But doesn't that? Well, yeah. Anyways, let's do
basically the same thing.
So the max HP percentage. So this is going to give him 10 times the HP. Oh, wait, no. Percentage. So like.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Times 10.
I had it crash again.
Yeah, the percentage is a bit. Oh, it is.
So cell value may not be null. I clicked off of it without typing a value, and it didn't like.
You could try just continuing here.
Oh yeah, it did. It did.
Survive, because I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just didn't like pressing enter.
Good to know.
Empty thing. Yeah, the little percentage icon there is slightly misleading. It's actually just like a multiplier.
Multiplier.
Like
Gotcha.
An asterisk. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Easy. All right. So 10 times max HP. Save. All right. Regulation bin adjusted. Let's see if we have issues loading in. Oh.
Hopefully we're good on that front now.
Is there a concern of if you have the game running and you save to the bin file, with it overwriting?
It will just not do anything until you restart the game, but it won't be a problem. The game reads that file once, as far as I'm aware, and then you could delete it as long as you never shut the game down.
Wow, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. At least we've got our character in position for Soldier of Godric testing.
Exactly.
Given a billion HP, always a good. My changes are going through test. Nice. All right, let's see here. Good. No problems logging in.
Oh, awesome. Assuming the field still works, we can increase his speed as well, like his animation speed multiplier.
I like that. That's just a simple multiplier number there?
Yeah, it used to be called gravity rate, which we always thought was very funny.
Gravity rate.
Yeah. Not gravity, gravity.
Oh, gravity. Oh.
Gravity rate. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they should just call it animation speed multiplier, but that's nowhere near as exciting.
All right, let's see if he's got the HP we're expecting. Yeah, that seems right, actually. So then the issue would be with our lightning.
I think I know what's happening then. I think we've left some of the checks on the lightning grease effect that are only applying it to, say, the right-hand weapon you're currently equipped.
Okay, let's look at our buff. I'm going to change the max HP back. Well, actually, I'll give him a little bit more HP. So what, like literal check boxes? Is that what you're talking about, or
there'll be more like
conditional?
Yeah. So effect category, we can see there it's on remove previous. So that's what I predicted, right? Where this effect will not stack. It will and what that will actually do is any other effects that have that 162 value, they'll also be replaced by the latest effect that's applied.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of lightning grease can override fire grease or rot grease, for example.
Oh, I gave him more FP. That's dangerous. Oh, yeah. So in terms of the stats, like, okay, for an enemy, they've got stamina values and everything. Do they function just like you would think a player would? Like, attacks cost stamina, they use it, they have to let it regenerate. Is that, like, what kind of deal do we have going on with NPCs there?
You know what? That's a question, even in Dark Souls 1, that I've never had a 100% answer for. I'm sure someone knows, and I know Meow's certainly been adjusting stamina-related params for Nightfall. But certainly just from a gameplay perspective, and particularly in Elden Ring, I've never encountered an enemy who seems to run out of stamina. I'm not sure exactly how they would behave. But it's a good question. It's someone else, if any other modders in the chat might know. But I'm not sure. I think they just follow their AI scripts until they...
Yeah.
die.
Vorai is requesting we please nerf Fire Giant, so I'm gonna say no and quadruple his health. So, okay, so
Modder, I don't know the word nerf.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're looking for an issue that might be causing him. Do you think it's an issue that he starts the fight two-handed? I think
right hand. I'm not sure that even exists as a concept, even though he is a humanoid enemy. He's not the player model.
Interesting.
So that would be my guess. I think this is specifically for players, because enemies, well, enemies do use lightning grease, but only the enemies that use the player model, like other,
Gotcha. So you're thinking we need a completely different effect for this?
No, just change that weapon parameter change field from right hand to 0.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just remove the filter.
None. All right, save.
Yeah. While we're here, we can see that there's a few other things we'd expect on the special effect attribute. So it has a lightning attribute, which is exactly what we want. And the state info. State info is kind of a catch-all. It can do a lot of things. In Dark Souls 1, at least, it's notorious for triggering a lot of hard-coded behavior. But it might trigger the lightning visual effect, for example. But we can't be sure that'll work for this enemy model.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Could it be the duration was changed? I think duration is -1, which Grim was saying should be no.
Yep, that's right.
Like infinite duration. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we made a save. Now let's see.
That trigger interval field, by the way, just below duration, another very useful one. The effect will only apply itself that many times, like that.
Like per
that many
second?
seconds. Yeah, that's how many seconds are between applications of the effect.
Okay, gotcha.
So, for example, I remember in Dark Souls 1, the symbol of avarice that drains your health. If you just set health drain to 1, even the minimum you could do, it would be too much. It'd be 1 per frame, which is
yeah.
So instead, it's 1, but it has a higher trigger interval, so it takes away 1 health like every half a second or so, rather than every frame.
So this value is frame-based?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, 0 means every frame, means no delay. It will trigger every single frame. Whereas if you set an interval above 0, it will wait that long between applications of the effect.
Gotcha.
That'd be kind of confusing for a damage boosting effect. It would. I'm not sure what would happen if you set it.
Well, I was thinking about. I immediately started thinking about like a buff where over time the boss gets stronger and stronger, kind of Artorias, except it's just like automatic and it just stacks on top of itself and keeps applying that. But
we could do that without even using event scripts by setting up a chain of effects that when they end, we give them each a duration, and when that duration ends, they will trigger another effect, which is one of the fields that you can do here. So we could definitely do that if you just want it to be purely timed, with no other conditions.
Gotcha. Well, let's see if our lightning buff has indeed worked at this point, and then maybe we can. Well, I'll leave it up to you as far as what you think would be a good test next. For in terms of difficulty, I suppose.
I'm kind of enjoying the Soldier of Godric.
Oh yeah, I love the idea of just,
process.
Yeah, just kind of messing with him and building him up. All right, let's see.
I think someone else posted a YouTube video with a heavily modded, buffed Soldier of Godric. It might be the person who is famous for beating Millennia. I'm not sure.
Oh, Ongbal or the... Oh, wait, let's see.
Don't remember off the top of my head. Okay, we want some nice sparks.
I don't think I see.
No.
It looks pure physical to me.
Yeah, I don't think we have it still. Okay. And yeah, you restarted the game before that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Let's check what else. I'm just gonna go, I got my own Yapt open here. I'll go take a peek at...
Okay. I'm gonna also increase his lightning damage, just so if it does work, we're gonna know. So,
yes.
1,000 lightning damage, so.
No ambiguity. Yeah. We could also find another lightning effect to copy, just in case, it only takes accidentally missing one field that kind of says, only apply this when it's the full moon and you have your left foot tied behind your back and stuff like that.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna search for lightning and see if maybe... are there any enemies that have a lightning buff like that in the game? I wonder if... Well, it's called Lightning Grease Right, but I think the only thing that defined right was that drop down that we did, right? Probably.
I would guess so. Yeah, that would be the only difference.
The Landell Knights? Oh, they do a buff, don't they? But that might be a spell?
The lightning rams, enemies that have it kind of built in, they'll just have the lightning damage in the attack param itself.
Okay. So let's see. Damage correction. Throw trigger.
Scanning through here.
Disable sleep down the target attackers. Clear out rooms. Multiplayer requests. Oh man, there's so many.
Yeah, and they're just kind of randomly ordered.
Yeah.
Well. Some of them I'm very pleased to see they've added. There were things that were very painful to do in Dark Souls 1.
Oh, that's good.
That could have been completely avoided by just having a simple field here. Things like altering stats, right? Because you have talismans now that can boost your actual stats or reduce them.
Oh, yeah.
There's no easy way to do that in Dark Souls 1. You have to do it with memory editing, like I did for the roguelike mod.
Dang, yeah. Let's see here. Someone was saying, and maybe instead of right, do self? Would you? I mean, we could try it. I don't know if, or unless you know that specifically something else.
Self. I mean, yeah, self. It could work. I'd certainly expect none to work. You know, none would just mean the effect doesn't care about anything. Matt's right that I'm not even sure anyone's tried this hack before. Normally they would do it through attack params. So maybe we could try that. Just I know it's going to affect all soldiers of Godric.
Oh, right,
Godric soldiers. So, but we could try that just to make sure we're not barking.
Right. If this works, then yeah, the effects are good.
George says 0 versus 3 is one of the biggest mysteries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go.
Interesting. Move type unknown, but which of the 6 unknowns is it? I don't know.
Sometimes you have to enter values that Yaps doesn't even support. You have to turn off the drop downs completely and do all manual.
Interesting.
Yeah. What was the other category? Because there's right hand. Kick is funny for, though just, this is not related to what we're doing, but the weapon parameter change value 4, which says kick.
Yep.
That is used for kicks or effects that you only want to apply on kick, but it's also used when you land on enemies' heads.
Oh, nice.
Which is funny. And the orange charred ring damage that it burns enemies is an effect that has the kick type. So you are literally kicking them in the head, according to the game, and it burns them when you're wearing the ring.
Nice.
Okay, shall we go into attack params and...
Okay, yeah, sure.
Try to...
So, attack param NPC, and then we're looking for...
We identified the model as 4311 from memory.
That's right.
So basically all the attacks that start with 4311, and then there should be 3 digits afterward, I believe.
4, 3. Oops, I searched Godric and that kind of messed it up. So I think it's... Uh-oh. Reset here. So yeah, it helps to kind of keep track maybe in like a notepad, like what you're working on currently as far as like the IDs go and stuff, just to easily find them again.
Yeah, exactly. And if I was getting into a big project, even bigger than the survival mod, I would set up a function, because, I should say that, we have all these great graphical tools like Yaps, which are awesome, but all of these pretty much are built on a library in C# called Sols Formats also by TKGP, who's a bit of the workhorse of the modding community. And, it's possible to write scripts in C# to do all of this automatically. Everything you're doing through this interface right now can be done through a script. And when you're doing, stuff that you need to do a lot of different times for different things, you would probably script it. And in that case, it's a bit easier to keep track of what you're doing, because your script will typically expect, it will start with the vanilla files and then do all of its modifications in a script, and then just export the result. So you never have to worry about losing track of, things you've been editing all over the place.
So interestingly, I don't see 4311. I see 4310, and then it jumps to 432.
It's probably 4310. Then 4311 is probably, you can see it's just called Castle Soldier, because they reuse the same model for, Redan soldiers and Lanedale soldiers, I think. So they probably all use the same attack params.
Okay. So at this point...
You can see that's another useful example of why they don't have the damage, like the actual final damage values encoded in here, because they can now reuse them for all the different variants and just use special effects to scale up the damage depending on where in the game you find them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this has fire damage on this. Interesting. So how would we easily track down, the attacks for Soldier of Godric specifically?
But these are all the attacks for Soldier of Godric. Each of these attacks basically corresponds to one animation from that model, and all of these enemies share the same model. And the reason that 1401 had fire damage is probably the attack used by those soldiers that hold torches, right, when they're waving their torches at you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to be safe, we would just change all of them, and even if the Soldier of Godric boss, for example, doesn't use that, we still have, you know, all the ones that he uses covered. And
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So yeah, later down the line, you would probably use a script to just change all of his attacks to add lightning damage. Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah, it depends. It's interesting because, you know, adding lightning damage to a specific enemy who didn't already have it, it's, you know, it sounds simple, but I think it's actually something that we've tried before, and that's why it's funny that I assumed this would work and you could just add a special effects that increased lightning damage, but you know, I'm struggling to come up with more reasons why it wouldn't work, and of course I'll probably won't be able to resist figuring it out tonight, but there's a decent chance that it's just never worked, and that's why they don't do it that way.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, so I guess I'm just going to add 500 lightning damage to all of these attacks.
That we'll definitely notice, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the kind of thing that, you know, scripting really helps with as well. You want to make the same simple change to a bunch of different fields.
And in terms of like, what does the game support as far as like real-time editing? Can all of these values like, you know, run a script and then change that, or is that more kind of first-time load?
So these are all first-time load values, but of course they have to be loaded somewhere in memory. And for Dark Souls 1 at least, you know, I do have a script that will track down where a specific param, so the attack param, for example, where it's stored in memory, and edit the values there. And that will typically work, and it works really nicely. You have to kind of rerun this memory searcher whenever you reload the game because the addresses, you know, it's wherever the computer allocated the memory.
Right.
And that's, ironically enough, that's exactly, you know, I was just telling you about this lighting tool we've been working on in Nightfall. That was because some fields are only checked once at load. Even if you edit this param in memory, they might not be, those changes might not be respected. What we're doing right now, I think would be respected, because when the game's doing these damage calculations, these values are going to be directly checked. I'm 99% sure. But some values won't be directly checked. So those item lots where you have a random drop from an enemy, or, you know, it's rare, you know, theoretically you could have treasure lying around in the world, have different possible random loot that you could get from it.
Right.
Using the same mechanism as random enemy drops. And those are only calculated once on map load. Yeah, so you would have to actually, there's no way around saving and quitting in that case for...
Gotcha.
Unless you tracked down a very specific memory address, which would be a nightmare. Yeah. It's funny how many different attacks the Castle Soldier has.
Oh, yeah.
Many of these are probably actually, you know, they could be the variant attacks for the different levels, or they could be, I don't know, this game is just humongously ridiculous.
Yeah.
So these attacks are interesting. These don't actually have any damage attached to them. These ones you're in.
Yeah, these here?
Right now.
Well, now they will, so...
It'd be hilarious if they were, like, blocking or something. And now
yeah. Or maybe... Well, even I think kicks have a little bit of damage, but it depends, too. So, all right, let's see. I have changed and again... Just for people who had kind of joined a bit later, the reason we're having to change all of the Castle Soldier attacks when we're just trying to modify Soldier of Godric is because they basically used the Castle Soldier as a template and slapped him in the boss arena and then applied some different effects to increase his HP or whatever. So if you were modifying, like, you know, Millennia or something, there's not a bunch of other Millennias that have these entries, so it would be a little more straightforward, I think. But this is all about making Soldier of Godric a beefy boy. So
yeah, it's kind of ironic that you can never quite tell whether a mod idea will be simple or not. And, you know, in this case,
right,
this is just, you know, it could be as simple as the lightning damage boost field in the special effects might only work if there is a non-zero amount of lightning damage to begin with, or something like that. You know, it could be as simple as that internally, but it's hard to know for sure. I'm fairly confident this will work, though.
All right. But yes, every soldier in the game will be disgustingly OP with their high lightning damage now. Oh, wait, I can't tell because I'm not healed up. How much health do I have? Oh, I have 522, so it should be a one-shot pretty much. Yep, there he goes, and I got the lightning effect. So there you have it. So, I guess we were doing that just to make sure that applying the lightning damage worked properly. And
yeah, that we did it the I guess quote the proper way in the sense of how they would do it. But you know, it does imply something interesting, which is, you know, given what we've just found out, if FromSoft wants to create a variant of an enemy that does have kind of a different damage type, they would have to create more attack params for them. And that might be what's happening here. You know, all these attack params, even though they start with 4310, they might be used by 4311 as well. But they, depending on the animation data, the animation determines which of these attacks are triggered. And they might, you know, each variant in different, you know, in Lanedell or in Caelid, they might only trigger a certain range of these that are otherwise identical, you know, animations. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. I think maybe I'll just replace the regulation with the backup, and then because that's a lot more undoing than redoing that I would have to do, just so we can get all of our regular soldiers back into place. So did we want to try and figure out a way to apply the lightning through a special effect to make our Soldier of Godric only be what he is, or should we move on and try something else?
I'd suggest something else, just because unless, you know, Matt might have an idea as well, or George. I think they're still in chat, but you know, I have enough, you know, without doing a lot of in-depth testing and figuring out exactly when that, you know, when that effect works and when it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it would be hard to say right now.
Is there a way to, let's say that all you want to do is modify Millennia's waterfowl? Like, is there an easy way to go about that, or you just kind of have to do some testing, or look at the numbers and be like, well, it's hitting, you know, X amount of times, and then it like links to this other effect that is the second, you know, waterfowl attack or whatever.
So that is definitely within reach. We could identify the param. You know, given the ridiculous nature of that one attack, there's a decent chance we could find some fairly unique pattern of values in one of Millennia's attack params that would give it away. Someone might also just know off the top of their head, because I imagine that's, you know, if you're going to know any attack ID in the game for modding, it's probably a good one. But if we didn't, what we would do is we would download Meow Maridus's DS Anim Studio software, which actually lets you, it loads the 3D models and it lets you play their animations and edit the animation data, including, you know, you can see exactly when the hitboxes are triggered and which attack IDs they trigger. Because, you know, Meow has code that's reaching into these params and checking it out. And I believe he has got an Elden Ring version of that out. So we would load that up, we'd load up Millennia, we'd play back the waterfowl dance, and we would see which number pops up. And that would tell us exactly which attack ID to look for.
That's awesome.
For now, we could probably guess, I'm saying.
Sure,
if we go and look at Millennia's ranges, and then, we could do that bonfire warp cheat with the params here, and we could,
and just mess with it.
Test that out immediately.
Yeah. I think I was just kind of asking kind of theoretically, but like, you know, how you would find that. So, but the Anim Studio is another publicly available program you can just go grab and use that way?
I think exactly. The latest release is on Meow Maridus's GitHub, I think. I haven't tried it for Elden Ring yet, but, you know, we're certainly making a lot of use for it for Nightfall, and it's one of the more graphically impressive pieces of software out there, probably alongside the Map Studio. Yeah,
I did see... I think it was him. It must have been him that he posted a video of Millennia's waterfowl, and it's just like these giant spheres just going, you know, for every time that it would hit, which is really cool. Okay, what do you think's a good idea for next? Are we gonna? You want to continue modifying our soldier and you know, doing some kind of fancier things with him, or maybe even just some other effects?
I think you've probably got a decent sense of what's possible through modifying attacks and effects right now. So I would lean towards more looking at equipment or looking at item lots. I think are the other very interesting params.
Absolutely.
Which of those sounds most interesting to you?
Let's modify some equipment. Make some custom armor, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I like. Okay, so
besides, part of why I wanted to do this was to potentially help out with the survival mod.
Yes.
So maybe I can down the line. Yeah.
Yeah, armor specifically.
Yep.
Okay. Well, just a quick overview of the different equipment param types here. So they're all grouped together. Yeah, right there under your cursor. Equip material set param's kind of the outlier here. All that does is define ingredients for either upgrading weapons or upgrading armor or even for recipes, right? So you can see all of the fields here are just material IDs, how many you need, what type they are.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Whether to show the number or not. Yeah.
Nice.
So all of any quote recipe, obviously that means real recipes in Elden Ring, but prior to Elden Ring, this is where all the materials you need for upgrading each level were defined.
Wow.
And I added, this is where I added a lot of new stuff in survival mod.
That's great. Is there a way to quickly check? So they show the components, right? But what it actually crafts into?
So yes and no. The immediate answer is no, in the sense of the information is not here on screen right now.
Right.
What we will do, and we can go look at this right now, is go to the shop recipe param. Actually, it's called shop lineup_recipe. So one of the params on the left.
Lineup param recipe.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we get these IDs here.
Yeah. So these are the recipes, and these IDs correspond. I think they just add an extra 0 for the ID in the equip materials set param from memory.
Okay.
And you can check that on the right here. You see the required material ID field. That's the ID of the ingredients in the equip material set param.
Yep, they've added a 0 there. So if we take this 301,000 and then we go back.
You can actually just hover over it because of the naming in Yapt and the way it's kind of automatically linking. Yapt knows that field ID is pointing to another param table. So if you hover over it, you can see the name of that recipe and get a quick preview of what it actually is.
And this is the material param. Where was it? It was equip material set param.
Set param. Yeah.
Does this support just me going in here and doing comma something else times 5?
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely. You can type whatever you want in there.
Wow.
But that's just a name. That name's been automatically generated.
Okay.
If you want to actually, you will have to edit the IDs and the numbers on the right to edit the param. Yep.
All right. That's what I was going for. So then you need to get the IDs, and then but you just add it into this material ID list, and it.
Exactly. Yep. And this is where, if you remember, I was telling you, and I think someone else tried this as well, where I wanted to have weapons feature as an ingredient for recipes for the survival mod. So you can upgrade your weapon, and one of the ingredients would be the previous weapon in the upgrade tree.
Yes, right.
And that is supported here. If that material category, you can change it from good to weapon.
Protector.
This is one of those cases where the ID we need is not listed. So we have to kind of enable manual mode, and I think it was number 3 or something.
Interesting.
But anyway, and you can do that here, and you can actually craft it, but the display for it is completely screwed up. It's kind of hilarious that you get question marks. I think I sent you a screenshot at one point. You just get question marks all over the screen because the menu does not know how to handle a weapon ingredient.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the story of how I worked around that for the survival mod is an epic tale that is very boring and tedious, but again, scripting helps a lot with all of these workarounds that we have to kind of are forced to come up with.
Yeah, that's good. And I see here the amount. So this just corresponds 1 to 1 and 2 to 2. So you need 2 of this ID, which in this case I guess would be mushrooms, and then 1 beast blood, 1 blood rose. So that's very cool. So even if you just wanted to do a mod where you kind of reconfigure what everything takes to craft, like that's pretty straightforward here. It'd just take a lot of data entry and adjusting that there.
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome.
And just like with the other one, you can hover over the material ID here and
yeah.
get a preview of the name if you just want to make sure what it is.
Nice. Awesome.
So yeah, supporting a way to kind of enter the names themselves into these. In reality, you've just got a list of the IDs open in the monitor next to you or whatever, but you do kind of get used to them eventually.
That's nice.
And you're adding a whole new good. The word good. I'm not sure if if you've seen that pop up before, but good. As we'll see in a second,
question mark
category
goods name. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are 4 basic types of equipment. It's expanded a little bit, but there are still the core 4. There are goods, which are what we'd call quote items. So that includes consumables and key items, spells, anything that appears in your inventory that is not one of the other types.
Yeah, all this stuff. Yep.
Yeah, all here, and you can see all the different upgrade levels, and we have both empty and non-empty variants of the flasks there as well.
Oh, I see.
They have different icons and different use animations.
Yep.
And yeah, everything you can pick up in the game.
Item no drink. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the animation
type
that you'll see there, and they've all been named as well, very nicely.
So you could just swap the no drink animation with you got madness or something, and to just lock the person in place there or something.
Yeah, I assume that would play them. In this case, that would be trying to drink an empty +1 blue flask would make you
do that.
erupt in madness. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's modding that is it's all as straightforward as it looks here. These are just fields. The icon ID, that's kind of another whole thing you have to kind of get used to. You have to go look up
icon ID. Okay.
If you want to change the icon, typically you'll just go find the thing with the icon you want to copy and you'll move it over there. If you want to add new icons, like in survival mod, you have to open the texture sprite sheets. You have to place them in the correct positions because they're sheets with lots of icons together. And then you have to add the ID to this kind of XML file that defines the dimensions of each sprite in that sheet, and then you can use your new ID. Bit painstaking, and it's very manual right now because you have to edit these textures manually, but you can do it. It's all possible.
Very cool.
So that's goods. That's goods.
Yep.
And you can see the subcategory of goods is on the right as well. There's goods type, the first drop down just below over dexterity.
Oh, okay. So like that determines kind of where it would appear in your inventory?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of types for Elden Ring. It used to be like, 4 types in the old days, but there's a lot of stuff going on now. And there are other things in these fields, like, determining whether you can drop the item. Some items you can't even use, like keys. They just sit in your inventory and do nothing. And lots of customizable fields here.
Nice.
This is someone saying you can change the Estus animation to just crush an Estus flask on your face. You can eat an Estus like jerky.
Of course.
So that's an example. It sounds like a complex mod, but that's changing one value in the game params to, smash an Estus flask on your face.
If I give it the animation, it knows to do like all the audio and stuff associated with it. Like that's all built into that.
Exactly. The animations have audio built in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so that's goods.
Yes, goods.
And one more thing, I can't, there's so much to mention, but these golden runes here, the way goods actually work, consumable goods, if you select a golden rune and you scroll up near the top of the fields on the right here.
Oh, yep.
You can see the reference ID. So goods, that's kind of what happens when you use this good. And a few different things can happen. Typically, they'll either produce a special effect on your character, or they will produce a bullet, like if you're throwing a firebomb or something like that. So in this case, we know it's a special effect because the reference type, which is the second drop down just below goods type, is set to special effect. So that tells us that the reference ID is a special effect. And you can predict what this one's going to do. It's going to be a 0 frame effect that gives you 400 runes, or however, I don't remember exactly how much you get from the level 2. But
right, yeah, it is.
That's it.
And then the sell value is separate from that. That doesn't define what you get. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
That's just a coincidence if that happens to be the same here. Yeah.
Okay, so
no, it isn't. It's not. These sell for the same value that they give you, right?
Yes. Yeah. But I imagine so. If we go to special effect and look for this ID, then we can find that sort of special effect setup that gives you the 400, like you said, interval 0, so it just happens once. Okay.
Exactly, and it would be one field used in that giant list, which is just rune count change, and that's it.
Rune count change, nice. Yeah. Okay.
And you could set that to negative 400 if you want the runes to take away your runes, right? And all kinds of stuff. Nice. Okay, so that's goods.
Okay.
We also have, just keep doing the simpler ones first. We have accessory, which in this game is talismans, but like I mentioned earlier, it's been rings, it's been runes in Bloodborne. So now they're accessories. And these are also quite straightforward. Basically, all they do in 90% of cases is just give you a passive special effect that lasts as long as you've got it equipped, right?
Yep.
And that's the same thing. It'll be in the reference ID there. You can see there's still a reference type set to special effect.
Okay, nice.
And they have these also all have sort IDs, by the way, I should mention, which determines the order they appear in your inventory, which does not correspond necessarily to the order they appear here in params with their IDs.
Fair enough. Now,
that's one of those kind of annoying manual things you have to think about kind of right at the end of a big project when you decide, all right, got to make some sort IDs.
Fair enough. Now, what is it that causes it to, I guess, is it built into the equip param accessory that it will only apply the effect while the accessory is equipped? Is that built?
Exactly. Yeah, that's built into it.
Okay.
And that's why you don't even have to set the duration to -1. But of course, you typically would, just to make it clear what the purpose of that effect is.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. So talismans are very simple because weapons and armor, as we're going to see in a second, they also can give you passive special effects, but they're also got a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So talismans are as simple as it gets. Just equip and get a special effect in 90% of cases.
Yeah. So to get an idea of like how maybe they build, for example, like Ritual Sword Talisman, which is increase attack power at max health. You could you could follow that reference ID and then look at that in the special effect param and see exactly how they're doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. And in that case, there's a special effect field where you can set a minimum amount of health that you have to have.
Oh, okay.
For the effect to trigger.
Nice.
Yeah. Or a maximum amount for like a red ring tear stone effect.
And that would be like percentage, just to make it easier, because obviously you wouldn't set a hard value for that.
No,
right.
I don't think you can set hard values. It would all be percentage.
Okay. All right. So that's
goods, and that's accessory. So we'll skip custom weapon for now.
Okay.
And gem, I think, is another system overload they've done since Bloodborne. So that was added in Bloodborne to support blood gems. Oh, okay, we do have the names here. So yeah, these are now Ashes of War. So
nice.
Ashes of War are literally blood gems.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, they're handled a little bit differently, but not very differently. You can only have one on a weapon, for example. But the params are basically, overloading the same table here. And they've just changed a few things. Like there's a sword arts ID now, which, tells you what sword art you get, which has its own param.
And sword arts from Dark Souls 3, so you can see all those names, making it, Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, this is how they produce something on the scale of Elden Ring in such a ridiculously short amount of time. So very, very clever recycling.
Copy, paste, rename. In some cases, not even rename.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say Sword Arts ID is... This is going to be... what kind of, what is this referencing? It's a table,
It's a table called Sword Art Param.
Okay.
So it'll be right at the bottom of the list on the left.
And then that'll give you... let's see. Well, let's just take a quick look. I figure it's got, an animation or... Let's see, the text ID would be the name. Is that right?
I suspect the animations, the actual animation IDs would be calculated from the sword arts type. Because I think some sword arts, they might have similar animations. Someone else might know better. I haven't done any sword art modding myself.
Okay, fair enough. We won't.
Yeah. Typically, in this case, the way they calculate animation IDs is unfortunately not always completely straightforward. It's kind of referencing, like Matt just said, reference other param. So you have a lot of inter-referencing here.
And
that was, I think the modding scene is really shifting a little bit more towards building these kind of all-in-one programs, like Cadillac's Map Studio, which is a 3D map editor, but he's trying to build in other things because it is very convenient to be able to click on one thing and follow like a hyperlink to where you want to what you want to edit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like that. I've been trying to do the same thing in Soulstruct.
Very cool.
So that's gems, or Ashes of War, as they're now known. We have Protector, which is armor.
Protector armor.
Param Protector. Yeah. That's also relatively straightforward. You have some, expected armor attributes, which we're going to see again on weapons. Things like repair price, weight.
What's Gold Mask's panties? Here we go, because I got to make that the most OP. Gold Mask. There we go. Gold Mask's rags. Are those his panties? That might be his chest piece, I feel like.
That row ID will tell you where you want to look, though. It'll be 104 and then 4 zeros.
Okay, 104. All right, let's see. 104. Oh, wait. Lower. Wait.
No,
Gold waist wrap. There we go.
Yeah. There we go.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So just set all of the defenses here to 9999 because Are there numerical limits to this, or will it just automatically kind of squash them if they're too high?
It's a good question. I'm not sure exactly how Yapt handles it. I know there's a setting where you can kind of, because there's a few things to say here. First is that yes, there are limits. There are certainly data limits. These fields, even the numbers, they might take up any number from 1 to 4 bytes. I doubt there are any 8-byte numbers in there. So a single byte, that's 8 bits. So you can have a number up to 256, or you could go from minus 128 to plus 127. Most of them are going to be classic integers, so 32 bits. So you can go up, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but we're talking like 8, 9 digits sort of thing. And but even within that, some of them are going to just not do much outside of certain values. And a lot of them are floats as well. So, floating point numbers with a decimal in them that you can set to basically anything to some limited precision. Yeah, so floats are very common in here. And then you have some fields that are just Booleans, so yes or no checkboxes, which, Yapt displays here as checkboxes. Internally, they're just zeros or ones. And the drop-downs are numbers that correspond to enums. So, each value has a name. They're not, scaling up so much as doing something qualitatively different. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
So, yeah, but for a lot of values, there are mins and maxes, particularly for the integer values. I'm not 100% sure what would happen if you tried to set a value outside the max. So,
yeah,
some of the IDs might be limited to about 32,000, like the length of a 2-byte number. But if you set it higher than that, Yapt might crash, or the game might crash. My guess is that the game would just, wrap around the value, because that's probably how Yapt would save it.
Sure.
Yeah, good question.
Compare price, good price. Yeah, I'm just looking at all the effects here and just kind of, like I saw like foot sound effects. So like if it's like a heavy armor, it'll make a loud clanky Foley, I presume. But none of these are labeled, so it's kind of just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. And, the foot material stuff, that's all going to correspond to different, just sounds. So the gold waist wrap would be the barefoot sound, I'm guessing.
Probably, yeah.
For that. But yeah, there'd be a lot of variations in there. You can see it in the note there. It says 139 is none in the doc string for that foot sound effect thing, which is interesting.
Interesting. So maybe there's a bass and then there's like another effect that's placed on top of it to kind of create the full Foley. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, possibly. Hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah. This is. Did you or somebody else say that this is the first time they're using Wise as their audio engine?
No, I didn't say that. Someone else. Yeah,
someone.
So that's interesting.
Maybe Fifth Nat said that. Because I think they're using something else before. But anyways, regardless. Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward armor stuff. What is origin armor?
Yeah, so this is where we get into reinforcement. So when you upgrade your armor, you get a level from +0. What are you seeing there?
Yep. But you can't. Yeah, you can't reinforce in Elden Ring, can you? I never use armor. No, I don't think you can, right? No. I'm saying no.
No.
Final answer.
No, yeah, you can't. So,
okay.
Again, these are just legacy fields that would do nothing if you said it.
But
I think would it do nothing, or would the behavior just miraculously restore?
But that's the thing, is because a lot of these systems are kind of still in here, at least, the skeleton of them. Like, that's where I'm always like, oh, is that something? Like, for example, durability. Like, is that something that still exists here as a field that we can make, come back? But that's always a question of how hard that is to do, and how you want to display it and all that. So, like, I don't think there's no UI necessarily, unless it's still hidden in the files for showing like a weapon durability. Like, well, I guess that was Dark Souls 2 that did that, or did Dark Souls 3 have that? Jeez, that's too much to think about right now. But anyways, I'm just always
the
thinking
subtle
about
changes between all these games can be hard to track.
Please calm down, Satan, says Jurgi. Yeah, no. I mean, look, we were talking about doing durability for a survival mod, so that's just something. Anyways.
I think the old durability field is called poise durability here now.
I see that. I see poise.
If you hover over that, what does it tell you? Super armor endurance.
Super armor endurance. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Super armor is the internal name for poise. So
yes.
It looks like, to me, like they have kind of overloaded this durability field to now serve as a poise modifier. That would be my guess.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I think previously poise could only be changed through armor through special effects, and so basically every piece of armor had a special effect on it that multiplied poise by some amount, or added some amount of poise in Dark Souls 1 at least.
Interesting.
So when they decided to get rid of durability, they might have taken the opportunity to reuse that field in the param. So that would indicate that it would be quite hard to restore durability, given that that value is being used for something else now, if I'm right about that.
Yeah, fair enough. So you said that previously you had to use a special effect to add like stats and stuff from armor, or is that still the case here?
That is now the case. It might have been the case. I think in Dark Souls 3 they added that as a special effect field.
Yeah, okay.
In Dark Souls 1, no, it's very hard to modify stats temporarily. You basically can't do it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you wanted to, like with talismans, anything you can do to a talisman, you can do to an armor or a weapon as like a passive equipped effect, and those are called resident special effects. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Yep. It's because Queen's Crown. I was trying to quickly find a piece that does alter stats. I think hers does, so that's probably what that is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. Nice.
And they might have added more, because there's 3 there. If you scroll down in those fields, have they added more slots for resident special effects? I'm just interested.
Well, let me check specifically on the crown. I don't think it's different. It doesn't look like it, unless I passed it. But
I didn't see it either on my end. Yeah, so still 3 slots for that, and typically that's all you'd need for armor, because most armor does nothing, right? It doesn't give you any special effects. So they've decided 3 slots, even for a game as huge as Elden Ring. There's no armor giving you 5 different types of effects running around.
Not yet, anyways. But
and anything's possible. Anything's possible.
But yeah, you said there's a way. Not that we necessarily need to go into it now, but there's a way to like chain special effects to others.
Yeah, that's right. We can go take a quick glance at that if you'd like.
So so even though we're limited to 3 slots here, we could chain them in such a way that you can get more than 3 effects overall.
The chaining wouldn't work exactly for that, because the way the chaining works is when one effect runs out of duration, it will trigger the next one. So you'd still only have one active at a time. But using event scripts, you can very quickly just check, because event scripts check everything, basically. You can check, does the player have this special effect? If so, add these 10 others.
Oh, no.
And you can do stuff like that.
Fair enough.
You're just kind of overriding the slot limitations of the armor, because the event scripts, you could add as many effects as you wanted through event scripts, and you can check them, and you can, very powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, given that they took away reinforcement, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff to look at here, and there's no infusion types for armor either. So it is relatively straightforward.
Okay.
What the origin armor used to do when you could upgrade armor is tell you if you downgrade this armor at a blacksmith, if you try to undo reinforcement, what will you get back out of that? And it also kind of makes the reinforcement option appear. So anything that can be reinforced will have that origin armor set to the base value of this ID, and we can see that in weapons right now. If we jump over to weapons, where they actually use that.
Param a weapon. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, so I'm seeing some weapons here. Oh, I guess are these thrown weapons?
Yeah, thrown weapons count as weapons.
Okay, all right.
At least arrows and bolts certainly do at the end. And I saw the pots appeared there, and I think that corresponds to something.
Yep, fetid pots and rope pots. Lightning pots. Also spells. Some spells under weapons.
No, I don't think spells would be. They have their own param called magic.
Oh yeah. These are the use items as well.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so let's look at dagger, regular dagger.
Dagger is always the best place to start. First weapon in every game, I think, still.
Oh, really? Like the first one they use?
1 million. ID 1 million.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot going on here. But again, most of it we've seen, very similar stuff. So we're aware, you can change lightning defense, and you can change stats, or rather, you can change, correction there. That's your stat scaling for that weapon.
So this is
whereas the game only gives you the letter, right? So
yeah. So is this saying that like 35% of your strength will be added as damage?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I think that's how it works. If you hover over it, it might tell you.
Character param correction value.
Okay,
but that's kind of.
Nah, I'm not 100% sure whether it's a percentage or whether it's some other, scale that is just kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make sense if it was a percentage. I'd certainly like it to be a percentage.
That would be great, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Harvest Tasha says it's a multiplier that is applied to the base damage at max stat. Okay, there you go.
Interesting.
So if you had max dex, you would get 65% extra damage, I think is what that's saying, and so that would go down from there as your dex falls below 99.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Scaling values use a curve from calc correct. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Calc correct is another param that just defines curves. Basically, it's used for like the cost of leveling and things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't know if it's still the same with Elden Ring, but I know they've used like the same leveling curve for like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, maybe Bloodborne as well.
Yeah, I think they have, and you can edit that as well. That's another very simple mod if you just want to.
Yeah. Make you level twice as fast, just so you can get way higher level or whatever.
Cool. Exactly. Yeah. So what else do we have here? We have guard absorption. So you can guard with weapons. So I mean, when I say weapon, shields, which we'll see down the bottom of this list, are also weapons.
Yeah.
Weapons are anything you can equip to your left or right hand, as well as a few other things like ammo. So yeah, you can guard anything you can guard with will appear here as well, and so you'll have these guard absorption values.
Surprise.
Now, behavior special effect is, I believe, the special effect that will be applied to someone who is hit by this weapon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's how weapons apply poison or bleed damage.
Yep.
Yeah. So there are no as far as I'm aware, there are no unless they've added them. Those fields are not native here. That is done through special effects. Yep. And then you have passive, which is the same as what we saw called resident special effects, and that's just, you know, if you have the weapon equipped, then you get that effect. And I think it does have to be equipped. I remember, I think you can, you know, two-handing's okay, like the old grass crest shield on the back trick.
Yep.
But yeah, it can't be in your, you know, it can't just be equipped but not held in your hand at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Calm.
Yep. And now we do see the reinforcement material set. So just above all the origin weapons. Yeah, it kind of it sneaks in there. That points to one of the equip material set params, and it tells you what materials you need to upgrade this weapon.
Equip material set param. Okay, yeah. So this pointing to 0. So this is just like probably the default for regular weapon upgrades.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be 1 smithing stone or whatever it is. I think. Yeah, two smithing.
Let's see. It points to.
Oh, it's because there's an offset as well. So
okay.
It's 0 by default, but then the actual value it uses will be offset by its reinforcement level. So that and that's specified in the reinforcement param, which you can scroll down to as well. There's a param just called reinforce weapon, I think, and that's
param weapon. Here we go.
Yeah, that's it. So this doesn't tell you the ingredients you need to upgrade, but it does define what each upgrade level gets you. So damage multipliers, you know, increasing guards. You can see the special effect offsets. So rather than specifying an actual effect, it's a number that will be added to the ID of the effect on the base weapon. So it lets you set an easy way to, like, if you wanted to upgrade the bleed effect of a weapon as you reinforce it, you create a bunch of bleed effects that are 1 ID apart in your special effects.
Oh, that's
set
cool.
The base, you get it. You set the base effect on your weapon param, and then you'd have an offset here of 1 for the +1, and then 2 for +2, and so on. And then if you want to change the effect, all you have to change is that 1 value on the base weapon. You can point it to a different, you know, the start of a different range of effects that scale up. So that's why it says offset there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
That's been very useful.
A lot of info there, but that's very cool that you can. So you can just basically have different tiers of bleed effectiveness, and then as you upgrade a weapon, you can have it upgrade that effectiveness as you go, and then so at a higher level weapon, you're doing bleed faster and stuff like that. So
exactly. And you don't have to do it. You know, you wouldn't have to do it every level. Like every +5, you could increase the offset by 1, for example. So yeah, whatever you want to do. Very flexible.
That's cool.
But it does save you from, you know, repeating the same base ID everywhere, and then it just makes it painful to change later on.
Yeah. Because you would have to go.
FromSoft.
You would have to go change to, like, you know. Once you hit +5, then you have to change the bleed amount. Then you have to go change +6, the bleed amount, +7, etc. But now you can just do this offset and kind of save you on that.
Exactly. Yeah. You still have to create all the effects. But
you're right.
If you change your mind about, you know, you could copy a weapon and change it from poison to bleed very easily, for example.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So also just in the reinforced params here, just below those passive special effects, you can see the reinforcement material set offset. So that's that's what's added to the again, just like the offset, it's just like the special effects rather, it's added to the base material set value, and that's how the game scales up the amount of ingredients you need along an upgrade path. So same principle.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So all the base weapon param does really is specify the path of upgrade you're going to take, and then the offset here takes care of the rest by actually increasing the amount of ingredients you need to upgrade the weapon. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then the origin weapons, they're actually what lets you upgrade the weapon. And again, what that does is that tells you what weapon you get. I think if you downgrade, it's like the source weapon. It's kind of confusing, but I can tell you that you won't be able to reinforce to that level unless the value of the weapon is in that field. So if you wanted to cap the dagger at +10,
I see.
All the values above 10, you would change to -1 here, and you would not be able to reinforce it above +10. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And the reason it only goes up to +15 here, again, is a legacy thing. So if you scroll down, you'll see the
other ones they've added later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there they are. All the way at the bottom, like, oh yeah, we want those too. All right, nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
and you can see they've added sleep damage and madness damage.
Oh
so
yeah,
they've had to expand the roster of slots.
Yeah, you could make like a little header that's like Elden Ring stuff, and then below that is all their added things for that. So that's cool. Okay, and then Ash of War type, like whether you can change it. So Special
stealth attack
weapons you
multiplier, because that's a new thing now as well.
Mm-hmm,
I don't think Sekiro even had a stealth attack multiplier. It just had backstabs or not.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so.
Like your first hit, if it wasn't a grab attack, would not do extra damage.
Yeah.
Just judging from the presence of that field so low in this list.
It's so new, yeah. So fresh.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go back up here, because what are these damage multipliers? Type A, B, C, D? I don't know.
That is an excellent question.
Let's see. For special attack A, maybe...
oh, okay.
Ash of Wars? No, I don't know.
Some kind of special attack. Sounds like it wants to... just out of interest, I'm going to boot up Soulstruct and see what used to be there in older games.
Oh, George says it's like bonus damage versus undead, dragons, etc.
Oh, okay. So they have renamed those.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was going to bring that up in that, in Dark Souls, and I think in Demon Souls, you had these hard-coded fields like damage multiplier against undead or damage multiplier against gods, right? And you had these kind of factions, and there were some weapons that deal more damage.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just straight up reused those names in later games where it didn't make sense. Like, I think the great ones in Bloodborne were gods, right? Which kind of works.
Yeah,
a little abusing the terminology a little bit, and I think it looks like they finally just changed the name to just Type A.
Type A, yeah. Well, it makes it a little harder to tell, but like, so for example, like the dragon wound grease is more damage versus dragons, but now you'd have to kind of like figure out which one's dragons or whatever. But,
exactly. Okay. And you could look at the dragon grease, I'm assuming, to
to
find
figure
out,
that out.
because it would probably have the same field. Yeah. But there you go. That's good to know.
Yeah. Poise damage.
Yep, poise
just
damage.
A flat value.
So, yeah, it looks like that's just how much damage you do to poise when you hit with this weapon. Okay. That's a basic value. Maybe that's, the attack params might be added on top of that. Equip model ID, so that's a very important one. What model is going to appear in the game when you equip this weapon.
Okay.
Yep. Icon ID, another important one, just pointing to a texture. And all the weapons will have their own. And I'm assuming the icon ID will just be the weapon divided by 100, judging from
Fair enough.
One example.
Now I'm seeing this durability here, and the max durability 0. But what if? I don't know. I don't know what to do. Maybe it would support it in the sense that if your durability ran out, you just couldn't use it anymore. But I don't know. That's probably got to be set up to function that way.
Actually, that's a good point. We were looking at armor before, and I forgot that armor durability wasn't a thing. I'm not sure what games that's been a thing in, like actual armors that decay. I'm not sure if that's ever...
Yes, no, for sure, because you could you could scraping spear people and break all their armor. So I think all of them...
Yeah. Of course they do. Yeah. Okay. So they don't seem to have overwritten it here.
Yeah, so we try it. People want to try it.
We want to try it. I'll be back in 5 seconds.
Okay, yeah, no problem. What did we have? Vagabond, right? So do we have longsword? Should we try it? Let's see. We had a longsword. Wait.
Okay, I'm back.
Do you remember what trial class character we made? I don't remember. If it was Vagabond. I think... I'm going to look for longsword here. And we're going to take this. And max durability... The thing is, durability by default is 0. So, if I set it to 1 and it happens to degrade to 0, I'm not sure anything's going to happen because it's by default
that's
0.
The question. Even if the durability does go down as normal, which is already a bit of a long shot, the game might just have nothing that reacts to it.
That's what I'm thinking, so...
Yeah. I think from memory in Nightfall, we disabled durability just by setting it to 0. So that might be what they've done here. But it's just like with the recipe menu with the weapons that I mentioned. The game might kind of handle it, but just visually freak out or do nothing.
Yeah.
Because they might not have the menu support for a broken weapon, with the faded icon with the red X on it.
And all that, yeah. Parry occurrence duration. Is that frames? Parry frames? Wait, let's see. Limit the life of parry damage. It does not last longer than it is set in time act. Oh, is that an animation sync or?
Yeah, time act is the data specified during an animation. So a lot of it's kind of displayed as a timeline with bars with start and stop points, just like an editor window.
Interesting.
So you'll have each animation, like an attack animation, will have a parry window defined in its animation somewhere.
Okay.
And this sounds like it's potentially clamping that value to some maximum. It does not last longer than it is set in time act, or the time act is clamping this value possibly.
Got you.
So yeah,
okay.
Interesting.
Damage stats, guard angle, interesting. So a 60-degree angle cone is what we can block from. Is that what that's saying?
That would be my guess. Yeah, another value I haven't personally played around with, but yeah, it makes sense, I guess, that you want shields that look bigger to have a slightly larger guard angle, right?
So then you could have 360-degree guard angle and then just
that'd be a fun test.
Just put that on the fingerprint shield, and it's like, all right, good luck. Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Almost like a contest. What's the fewest numbers you can change to make the game as easy as possible?
Yeah, exactly. Poise durability, additional sword art, SA.
That's super armor. So
that makes sense. Yep. Super armor durability used during attack motion. Okay.
I think that's a default. So some weapons will give you poise during their attacks.
Hyper armor, or super armor,
exactly.
Okay.
And the time act animation data can specify that as well. You can have events in there that give you hyper armor, so to speak.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Reinforced type ID. I don't know if that's
type ID.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does that vary?
Achievement.
I think that's pointing to the reinforced param we just looked at. So that actually tells you what benefits you get from reinforcing.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's pretty important. I mean, for most of these weapons, it's going to be either 0 or 100, which is the somber stone path, I think.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. Crit multiplier, bow distance -1. This is not a bow, but
could it be? There was a hilarious bug in the survival mod because of the system I used where I created these dummy items to, for crafting, and they're replaced by the real weapons. And they're actually ammo because the game lets you craft ammo by default. So I made a dagger that's an ammo, and then the event script gives you the real dagger and takes away the ammo. When Dist played it, he forgot to install the event script, so he was just crafting these dagger-shaped ammo, and then he'd try to use it and end up just like firing it out of a bow or something ridiculous like that.
That's awesome.
I didn't see the start of it, but unexpected hilarity.
Ooh, equip model category. Drop down here. We got hair. Okay, so you're telling me we could do a whole fashion system where you equip hairs, like you craft different hairs. Oh my gosh, you can just do that from the mirror in the game normally, but
individual hairs. Yeah, you can have Elden Ring barbershop mod.
Exactly, barbershop mod. That's what I'm thinking.
If you create like 10,000 hairs, each with a different model of a single hair at the right location, mix and match.
Whoa. Yeah, dang. All right. Equip model gender. There's all sorts of genders in here. Male, female, unknown, no gender. All right. I assume that would determine the animations or something. I don't know.
I think it's for the model. I'm surprised to see it in weapon. Yeah, I know armor models will have gender differences, but
interesting.
None of the weapons could use it. Again, it could be a relic of another game.
Yeah, there's
like one weapon that needed it.
Weapon category. Yeah. Motion category. Move set, I guess.
Yeah, so these numbers are kind of combined together to determine the animation IDs.
Interesting.
They're kind of a big offset so that the game knows which animations to play. So it'll use the category and the other motion category.
Cool. So if I just took a Colossal Greatsword, the numbers, and just plugged them in here, it would probably attack like a Colossal Greatsword.
Yeah, you'd have a Greatsword model, but your player would be treating it like it's something else. Yeah.
But then we would that wouldn't alter the hitboxes, right? That's in the other stuff that we were looking at, or...
It would alter it because the animations determine which attack param gets used.
Oh, nice.
So if you change the animation, the animation kind of determines everything from there down.
Awesome. Yeah, I forgot we were looking at NPC attack stuff where that hitbox information was. So, that's what we were looking at, right? On the giant crab, we were looking at those numbers. Well, I don't know. Anyways, maybe I'm just getting away, from myself.
No, you're right. It works the same way for like player weapon attacks as well. All of those will be in the attack param PC. And the hitbox sizes and locations will be defined there. I think the locations might be in the animation data, actually. The duration is certainly in the animation data.
Sure.
Yeah.
Defense sound effect. Okay, so like block with a shield or block with a weapon or whatever. Attack material. Do you know what that would be? Let's see.
It's 0
used
to 6.
from attack parameter. Okay, all right. So that might be something to chase down, but guard motion. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's a lot of things here that, that may
attack material,
mean stuff
I'm guessing,
or may not.
Yeah, it's like, whether the noise it makes when you like hit a wall with it, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Requirements, motion position, basic motion ID when equipped one-handed or two-handed, parry attack. Let's see. Basic value to defeat the enemy's parry.
Yeah, so this is a new thing, well, relatively new. It wasn't in Dark Souls 1, unless I'm misremembering, but enemies can have parry defense that gets depleted, and so just like Millennia does, right? I think you have to parry it 3 times.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
nice.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that in reality in the game, every weapon has the same amount of parry attack, and they basically only use defense. Yeah,
that makes sense. So this poise, the poise damage that it does, that would lead to, staggering them, but also like, out of an animation, for example, but also would that also plug into actually stunning them so that you can perform the riposte? Is that the same type of damage? Do you know, or maybe they have a separate system for that?
I'm not 100% sure. That's another thing that's changed in a more recent game, because I know, there is kind of a general stagger system now that wasn't in place in Dark Souls 1, where it was parry and riposte, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I suspect that increasing the poise damage would very quickly let you
knock them
stun
down
them for a riposte. Yeah. Harvest Stasher says poise is only for stance break. The stagger is done through the attack params. There you go.
Oh, okay. Stance break. Wait, but stance break. I guess the difficult part is defining those terms. Stance break is like just kind of interrupting them, or is stance break?
I think that's the more simple interrupt. Yeah.
Okay.
The stagger for the riposte sounds like that's
stagger
an attack
for
param thing.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. PvE stance break is when you open them for a riposte. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Can wield both hands. Can wield an arrow slot, bolt slot, a bunch of booleans down here. Attack attribute. Interesting. So this is on the sword as a whole, not necessarily the attacks, or?
Yeah, this is like a default attack attribute, possibly.
Okay.
Because I know some games do have multiple types. They have strike and thrust. So standard is maybe that means that it's really just up to the individual attack param.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Can wield in bolt slot. Yeah. Allow shield buff. Enables parry. This is great. Yeah, so these all these are all pretty straightforward.
A few options.
Is humanity correction?
So,
like chaos?
Yeah, like chaos. Not going to do a whole lot anymore. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's funny that even in Dark Souls 1, you can see that this is a yes or no option. So the scaling that chaos actually gets you per humanity is hard coded.
Yeah.
As far as I remember, anyway, and you can either use it or you can not use it. So all the chaos weapons have that ticked, and that's it. And
that's it.
There's absolutely nothing in this game.
Very cool.
Standard is a damage type.
Is Dark Hand. Like that's, there you go. Ooh, is a light source. That's cool.
Yeah.
Can hit
These are all very
enemy.
familiar fields to me now.
Yeah. Great bow type, yeah. Can discard, can drop. Enable throw. Does that mean discard, like completely throw away? No, that's can discard.
That'll be throw in this game, in FromSoft games, means kind of grab attack. So they're all called throws, and they have a throw param.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what enable throw means. That might mean that while you're using it, you're allowed to be grabbed or something like that.
Whether it's a throwable weapon. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you can be grabbed up. Shoutouts to throws.
Yep. Pretty complicated system.
Yeah.
But
SFX stuff. Yes, weapons have a lot. Anything else you think is super worth looking at right here? Well, I guess there's the new Elden Ring stuff. We've got Ash of War type, whether you can change it. The additional upgrade levels here. Versus player sleep damage, madness, blight, scarlet rot. Death blight. Yeah, stealth. That's cool. The stealth attack multiplier, though.
Yeah, that's neat. Interesting that you have a multiplier set to 0, though. That's interesting. Normally, a default multiplier value would be 1.
Just be 1, yeah.
Yeah. So, might be slightly applies additional multiplier to baseline multiplier. Okay, so that's on top of some other multiplier.
Yeah, interesting.
So if it was set to like 2, then a 10% stealth multiplier would become a 12% stealth multiplier.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Example, yeah.
Poise damage, guard absorption, say damage, cut rate when guard is successful. Yeah, okay.
The weapon regain HP amount, it's good to see there. That was also quite painful in Dark Souls 1. It was kind of all hard-coded into the butcher knife. So,
interesting.
Yeah, neat to see that.
So, So why would it be 40 on a longsword?
Oh, yeah, that...
I mean, I guess maybe
it doesn't mean what I assumed it meant, because this is a new field. It's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe it needs
Weapon regain. Weapon regains health? Its own health. The weapon has health, but it doesn't. Durability's gone.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe durability's not gone, but the weapons all just heal themselves very rapidly.
Oh, I get it. For Millennia Rune. Oh, that would make sense. Wow, very specific.
Wow, there you go. Yep. That's definitely a param to throw in. It's interesting that they thought about that before they realized they needed a plus 25 weapon system. Judging from the order here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
Special effect message ID. That's interesting as well. Looks like 3 slots message for more, ID. Just at the bottom of weapons. Yeah, above the origin.
Effect text to display in status.
Effect text. Interesting. Okay. I guess if you can set a text ID there, and it will tell you something when the special effect is triggered. I'm not sure. Yeah. Zion Isis says Ian said durability is still. Oh no, Lan, not Ian. I think.
Oh, Lan.
Lan said durability is still kind of working with damage going down when broken. Okay.
Oh, interesting. That's cool. Yeah. So it wouldn't break necessarily, but like you could. I mean, you could still use it when it's broken anyways, but they wouldn't have all the normal things you would expect, like the X and broken
exactly.
icons.
I think restoring the UI would be the hardest part of it.
Yeah.
But, you could just have... I mean, I'm not sure if it would be easy, but just have the weapon just vanish when it breaks.
Yeah, true.
That would be the cruelest outcome anyway, and that's what we're going for, right?
Very true. Okay, I think that's all of the equip stuff. Did we go over all of it? Oh, except for custom weapon, but...
Yeah, custom weapon, what that does is it defines some kind of pre-reinforced or pre-infused weapons that you can actually find somewhere in the game or that need to be equipped to someone. Because, typically that they're almost sort of automatically generated. Like a +2 longsword doesn't have its own ID here. It's just, it's a longsword, so it has the base ID and then it adds the reinforced properties on top of it. But if you need, when Rogier gives you his rapier and it's like +7 or whatever, or +8, that needs to appear in here somewhere.
Yeah, so I was looking for, I think, Patch's spear. Here we go, +7. Well, maybe.
That could be it. Yeah, these are just slots. Anyone could use that now that it's here. You can see there's only 3 fields in this param, which is a weapon ID, an Ash of War, and a reinforcement level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
And now, in Patch's loadout, which we can actually go and look at now, because that's another good param to look at. It's called Kara Init param. Kara is in character.
Okay.
And this is where, all of the player, or quote, player characters, any character that uses the player model, so it's model 0, and then these are the kinds of, this is where the characters are initialized. That's where the name of the param comes from. It kind of defines their stats, their equipment. All the starting classes appear in this param as well, for your starting loadout. And this is where you can set
up. Are these for different times that he spawns in the game? Like, for example, maybe the third one is like where he spawns Volcano Manor, or are these...
Yeah, that would be my guess. So
okay.
Anytime he changes equipment, and you can see, they're kind of increasing the values of his weapons, which I'm guessing those are actually going to be custom weapons that those are pointing to, and those are going to get more and more powerful, as you encounter him later in the game. And that's exactly how it worked in Dark Souls 1. Like, Solaire has a bunch of different appearances, and they all have leveled up weapons in this param.
Makes sense. I just like that in this one, like, they gave it to him his right and left secondary slots, but then here they're like, oh, you give it in primary slots. But I guess maybe if he appeared...
It depends, if they want him to start not holding a weapon and then switch to it.
Okay, that makes sense. That's cool. That's cool. Very cool. And then that would just be handled in the AI to just swap to a weapon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
See, no headset there.
So I think we pretty much hit a 2-hour mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to run off soon, but you can see
no problem.
How much there is to do just in these params. You know, this is a single file in the game.
Yeah,
in theory, it's actually
stuff.
a lot of different files glued together, but yeah, it's very powerful stuff, and you don't even have to unpack the game to work with all this.
Awesome. And I had not, I didn't know of Yapt and how easy it is to just come in here and change stuff and make it happen. And then you could just so there's an export option here, but could you in theory just give somebody that bin file and it would have all your changes in it?
Yeah, that's right. So the export I think just creates, that will let you write a regulation.bin file wherever you want. But you can just save and then copy it out of your game directory as well to send it to someone. I think there's one more tool. It's a really useful feature of this program that I used initially for survival at least, but it supports like a little bit of scripting. If you go to file data here.
File data, yep.
Yeah, and the top. And go... Oh, sorry, no, it's in field data.
Oh, field data.
We want to export... the name of it. Field data, export data.
Export
F12,
data, okay.
Yeah. That will write the current param, like all the current values, to a CSV file in the Yapt directory, and that's just a text file. You could literally open that in Microsoft Excel, right, and edit it that way.
Wait, source formats. Wait,
so it's in projects here.
Projects, and
and there'll be like an untitled project or an unnamed example mod. That's
example mod.
Yeah.
CSV. Oh my gosh, Elden Ring character init param. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. So you can open that, and so even just using Yapt, you don't have to have C# skills or anything. You could write a script in any language you want, like Python, with my personal choice.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. Is you could use that to write a CSV file and do all your scripting kind of through that intermediary, and then you could import that CSV back into Yapt and save it.
Nice.
And so that's a very simple way you can start. You can get a kind of a grip on doing more scripted changes to a file, or even just like a big find and replace, right?
Yeah.
Like where we would individually change all this lightning damage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome.
Yeah. It's a bit harder just because the file is basically still just numbers in it, but it opens up a lot of doors that just the GUI on its own would make a little bit painful in comparison.
Nice. Very awesome. Well, let's see. Pimp your Patreon and your YouTube channel, because Grim does all this stuff, and nobody. They don't do it. They do it all for free, quote unquote. Obviously, the reward of doing it and any support you guys can throw at them. But yeah, take it away.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I do have a Patreon. I've had it for about a bit of a year and a half now. Most of the people on there, of course, are Nightfall supporters, which I really, really appreciate, because definitely that's what's consuming most of my attention. The Elden Ring was a bit of a distraction from that. So you can find me at patreon.com/Grimrukh, and I was doing monthly streams as kind of a Patreon reward, but I don't know, it takes up a fair bit of time to do that, and honestly, if we want to do this again, that'll achieve the same goal, but times 100 as far as I can tell. I also do YouTube tutorials, so you can find me just YouTube Grimrukh. They're pretty small videos, but small in scope, but large in length and depth, which is just some introductory tutorials on Dark Souls 1 modding, mostly using SoulStruct, which is, like I mentioned earlier, this kind of big all-in-one editor program that you can get on Nexus Mods. Well, you could. I think they might have blocked it because it had suspicious memory injection code in it. Ooh. So you can get it on my GitHub. Just go to github.com/Grimrukh and you can find the latest version of SoulStruct on there as well. And I have been working to get a bit of Elden Ring support in there. Maybe not for params, but at least for event scripting, which is, I think, my favorite part of the program that I use most. And I certainly used it for the survival mod. So it does work, kind of.
Nice.
Just that's the support all maps.
Very cool.
Anyone who supports me, I really appreciate it, because I love modding. Once Nightfall's done, I'm probably going to really, as I've said for a while now, try to make my own game. Ooh. And I'll have more to say about that later on. But yeah, I love doing this, and it would be awesome to be able to do it full time at some point.
That's awesome. Very cool. Thanks also to all the modders that showed up in the chat. If there are any modders out there, I like all my modders to have the VIP, so I can see them when they come in. So I mean, I know Harvestasio was given a bunch of info. I mean,
yeah, thanks for all the tips. Like I said, I mean, I was just learning about all these new Elden Ring weapon fields at the same time as you. But thank you to Vorsa as well for doing a lot of this param work, figuring them out for Elden Ring.
Yeah, this is super awesome. Like, you know, if you were trying to start from scratch, like, it'd be just an immense amount of work to figure out what the heck is going on in these files. And with all the translations and all of it, all the tooltips here and it being placed nicely, this is super awesome to just, you know, just go through each thing and go, oh, that's what determines this and this and that and that. And this is what that parandomizer mod does. It's always so hard to explain when somebody comes in, they're like, what does this mod do? It's like, scrambles a bunch of numbers and sees what happens. So
yeah, you can kind of rank each of these numbers by like how dangerous it is to randomize,
like the riskiness.
And Irregulate is like kind of the top of that list right now, where it doesn't care how dangerous it is for a lot of them. At least.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
I've seen George in chat. Just a quick shout out to Hot Pocket Remix and Fifth Mat as well, who I've seen around. And there's a lot of other great modders, of course, but they are really good at working with event scripts, and they were really invaluable in both testing Nightfall demo, so thanks for that, especially you, Matt, and cracking the newer MEV instructions for Elden Ring, which has already paid off in my survival mod at least, and all the other stuff they've been doing with randomizers and everything. So thank you guys.
Yeah, and this is really just, you know, I kind of came up with this idea out of nowhere doing this little stream, and I'm totally open to having more guests too. You know, if we have something more specific, like, you know, stuff that maybe you're not as focused on because, you know, Meow does all the animation stuff, or other people do other portions of the modding. So at any point we could have special guests and talk about that if we need to, or whatever. And I haven't talked about it with you, Grim, but we could throw this up onto my YouTube. We could put it onto your YouTube. We could do both. Like, honestly, I'm open to whatever. It's just, I think it's cool to have this information, and it's a cool way for me to learn it too, because I have to
that
be
sounds
here.
great. Yeah, your YouTube. That's perfectly fine.
Awesome. All right, sounds good. Well, I think we'll go ahead and call the first episode of Soulsborne Hero Ring Modding 101. We'll call it closed here. Thank you so much, Grim. So this was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to continue to learn more.
Yeah, you too. Great to finally meet you over voice, at least, after all these years as well.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Look forward to watching more, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
And thank you, chat.
Yeah, take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, good stuff. Hot Pocket Remix, Scorch Contract for Elden Ring. Look at all these modders in here. It was a blast to see all you guys jump in and help us out with, you know, it was cool that, like, you know, there's some effects or something that we were both just kind of like, I don't know what that would be for, but you guys had the answer, because I'm sure everybody's got their own experiences when it comes to digging through all this info and trial and error and stuff. So that's really what's made the modding scene just so successful, is everybody working together, and it's a pleasure to see everybody come together like that. So very cool. I will throw this on the YouTube, and we'll continue this. Plan to do it Fridays. I think we'll do basically what we're doing today, which is we do PvP Fridays, and then a little bit of mod learning. But you can see how quickly, as soon as I download this Yapt program and started looking at things, I mean, I've got some experience looking through parameters and kind of messing with them to figure out what they do. But you can see how quickly you could just start to make a mod. A lot of it is just putting in the work to actually do it. But especially once you look into the NPC param, for example, and you can just search, you know, like millennia, and then you have access to all this information, and you can start changing her attacks if you go to the attack param or whatever. You can change her health values, this and that, and make whatever kind of mod you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take a restroom break real quick, maybe figure out food, and when I come back, we're going to keep building our PvP character on the PS4 version of Elden Ring on PS5. It's wild how much easier this made modding seem. Seems like you can do heaps with very basic knowledge, yeah. And if you guys have feedback or whatever for what, maybe how we present the mod session, or what we go over, or how we go over it, like, by all means, let us know. If you're a modder, if you're just a viewer or whatever, totally open, because this really was just free form kind of, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's have fun. Like this morning, I think Grim was like, so how should we do this? Like, I'll call, and I was just like, yeah, let's do this. But not to say that it was we were unprepared for it. It's just a question of the format, you know. We just knew that we wanted to talk about modding and had the tools to do so. So we'll do it live. I think it works well in that format too. So